Dhabi provided the season opener and the race began in customary style. Bernoldi put the Nissan ahead of the early stages, but it went wrong on the pit stop. Co-driver Zonta traded paint with Makavicki, but both had been beaten by the Hex's Aston of Steph Dusseldorf. Dusseldorf held on despite immense pressure from behind from Westbrook to win on his debut. Nissan's fortune turned worse in Zolder when Zonta managed to crash into Jamie Campbell-Walter off the grid, taking both cars out. And the bad luck continued as Dumbreck went out as well, leaving Krum and Law to finish in 9th. Instead, it was the turn of Lamborghini to shine as Marcus Winkelhock and Mark Vassang first won the qualifying race, then backed that up with Alain Coulthard's first ever championship race win. At Portimao on the Algarve in Portugal, Westbrook and Dumbreck were the drivers to beat, while others were in trouble. But gearbox problems meant that after Dumbreck took over from Westbrook, there was little he could do to protect his position from teammates Krum and Law, who took the number 23 car ahead and home for victory. Germany's Sachsenring came next, and chaos at the first corner meant problems for Dusseldorf, as well as several others, including Benlinger and Thomas Enger. Championship leaders Mark Vassang and Marcus Winkelhock lost their points advantage when they lost a rear wheel. But the Hex's team took a second win, this time with Hohenadel and Piccini. Things would change at Silverstone. It was always close between the Krum Law Nissan and the Aston of Enger and Muller, but they were at least ahead of all the dramas going on behind, and in particular the incident between Westbrook and Stephan Mucker. Westbrook knocked into the Aston at Beckett's, but it was the subsequent contact on the Hanger Straight which really caught everyone's attention, as Mucker wiped himself out against the Nissan and points were lost, which must feel even more valuable now. Krum and Law pitted well in their Nissan and found themselves battling with the Aston Martin of Thomas Enger and Alex Muller after the pit stops. But the Nissan pairing held sway and took their second win of the season to leap from 6th to 1st in the championship table, as well as having the honour of winning the Tourist Trophy. Suitably enough, in bullfighting country in Spain, the Lamborghinis were fighting fit. Winkelhock and Vassang won the qualifying race, while teammates Pastorelli and Schwager won the championship race, with the Nissan of Brabham and Jamie Campbell-Walter third. The pendulum swung back towards both Nissan and Aston at Ricard. On home turf, Hexes had a nightmare, while Krum and Law went on to dominate the championship race after their teammates suffered broken suspension, while the two young driver Astons finished second and third. Having shown flashes of pace, Ordos in China finally gave the Ford camp something to cheer about as Martin and Makavicki won both races. Westbrook maintained the pressure, but being held up on pit entry didn't help his or Dumbreck's cause, and they finished second. A pair of brilliant pit stops worked for Hexes as they brought their cars home third and fourth. Weather conditions at Golden Port in Beijing threw another variable into the mix. Initially under safety car, when the field was released, the mayhem at the first corner accounted for Vassang and also Dusseldorf and Piccioni. Hohenadel led, and it looked as though he and Piccini would close the gap to series leaders Krum and Law, but in the closing stages Piccini went off, so Stephan Mucker and Darren Turner inherited the win. The Beijing race was not the only GT1 action in China. The following day saw a demonstration event take place at the Olympic Park, giving thousands of people the opportunity to sample the sights and sounds of GT racing and experience the thrill of cars on track under floodlights, passing the iconic architecture of the 2008 Olympics. For the final event, GT1 returns to Argentina and the magnificent Potrero de los Fines circuit, where the final tango of the season will determine the championship outcome. Martin enjoyed San Luis last year as the Hexis car won both the qualifying and championship races. And this year, Hohenadel and Piccini remain outsiders for the title. And young driver, the team's title is definitely within grasp as they enjoy an 8-point lead. But drivers Luca and Turner have not given up hope of winning the driver's title as well.
First of all, it would be good to win the race. I mean, that's what we try to do. I think it will be a really tough race for us to finish on the podium. But we will fight until the end and try our best.
At Corvette, 2 new drivers joined forces in number 11, and one of them is the younger brother of Lamborghini driver Nicky Pastorelli, Francesco, and this will be a first in several ways.
It's the first time ever that we drove against each other. We did some races together, but this is the first time against each other. It was a very last-minute deal, but a very nice deal.
Ford may struggle this weekend on a power circuit. Marcus Pautala is back in the GT at Belgian Racing, alongside Antoine Leclerc. While at Marc VDS, Max Martin is teamed up with Jan Claret, while Bas Linders is joined by Buenos Aires-based Riccardo Rizzati.
It's great to be here again with VDS teams. I raced 2 years ago with GC2000 here, so I know very well the track. I think with Bas we can make a good race.
Lamborghini want to end the season on a high after a disappointing time in Beijing. Christopher Haas has joined Manuel Lau at DKR, but it is the Al-Inkle car of Basseng and Winkelhock that could be worth watching. Until the contact in Turn 1 last time out, they appear to be major title contenders. Now they're outsiders, but they're not just going to roll over.
I think Mark and me, we are really focused. We give everything and we just try to win the championship. It's going to be difficult, but we do our best.
Nissan definitely holds the ace cards. Sumo Power have little chance in the team's battle, so will no doubt help JRM, where Michael Krum and Lucas Law will be planning to convert an 11-point lead into a world championship by the end of the weekend. The German pairing seem to have established their game plan.
There's lots of calculations going on, of course, to finish there and then they finish there, but I mean, it's also complicated. I think the best for us is just to go out and win the race. That's the target.
So Krum and Law start the weekend as favourites, but Luca and Turner and Basseng and Winkelhock are ready to go toe-to-toe to wrest the title away and enjoy the last laugh.
Welcome to Argentina then for the finale of the FIA GT1 World Championship of 2011. I'm Ben Edwards, joined by Johnny Herbert at this magnificent circuit close to San Luis in pretty much central Argentina. We're 270 kilometers south of Mendoza, a good distance away from Buenos Aires, where of course you raced in Formula One in the 90s, Johnny, but this track really is quite something, isn't it?
It's absolutely amazing. It's the setting, you can see there in the background the mountains, the circuit around a lovely little lake in the middle. I haven't heard any bad words about it. Everybody thoroughly enjoys coming here.
Now, let's talk about what's been going on in the championship, because already we've had a major drama this weekend, which happened before we even got into qualifying, and that was the crash of the number 8 Aston Martin of Stephan and Darren Turner.
And sadly, it looks like the weekend is now over for you. Can you explain what happened yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, the cover's on the car and it won't be coming off this weekend. Yeah, Stephan had a bit of a moment at turn 21. It's a high-speed corner, like 4th, 5th gear. There's a big bump mid-corner, and he just sort of lost it over the bump. Looking at the data, that's what we think will happen. And unfortunately, the car slid into the wall absolutely square on. So the outside, the damage didn't look too bad. You know, a bit of T-cut, it would have rubbed out, and a bit of tank tape, but unfortunately it's pushed all the suspension in front and rear, which has done quite a lot of damage to the chassis, so it's not repairable while we're here in San Luis. So unfortunately that's the end of our weekend, and also it's the end of our sort of challenge for the championship. I mean, it was always going to be a long shot, 11 points behind with a lot of weight in the car, but there was a chance. And the only other thing is it stops us trying to help with the team, trying to win the team championship as well. So, yeah, very unfortunate. It's the end of our championship, but hopefully Car 7 can go out there and try and secure that team championship for them.
Thank you for talking to us. Cheers.
So Darren Turner and Stephan won't be starting at all, but there, on pole position after a brilliant job in qualifying, are the championship leaders. And as they go away on the formation lap here, Michael Krum and Lucas Law can wrap up the title here today in this race by simply staying out of trouble and scoring a few points. That's really all they need to do. Now that we've lost the Darren Turner-Stephan car, if that car had been in the race, Krum and Law could not have won it in this first race of the weekend, no matter what Mucker and Turner had done. But because we know their car's not going to be out at all for the weekend, it makes this job much easier. Alongside them, Pastorelli and Berman, and we'll talk more about them in a moment. On the second row, Brabham and Campbell Walter and Schwager in the Lamborghini. You've got the Hohenadel Piccini Aston alongside the Bernoldi Nissan next up on row 3. Row 4, Piccioni Dusseldorf Aston, and then the Muller-Enger car. Back on row 5, Westbrook's Nissan. He had a 5-place grid penalty, in fact, for another engine change, so that's why Westbrook is a little further down than where he qualified this morning. We're all set for the qualifying race here. The finale of the World Championship gets underway in Argentina, and as we wait for those lights to go out, Michael Krum in the Nissan's going to try and wrap up this title in the qualifying race, but the Corvette's going to fight him down towards the first corner. Very dusty offline as everybody charges down there, and Jelmer Berman goes around the outside. Oh, he's taken the lead from Michael Krum, who's being sensible and slots into second place, and the battle is going on behind.
Absolutely, I think that was a brilliant start, able to get in front there of that Nissan. And now he's just got to sort of learn more about this track, like I was saying. But you can see he's pulled a little tiny gap already. So it's going to be a very interesting battle. But again, Michael Krum, he just needs to follow it and do his own race.
Yeah, looking down at the other Corvette, that's further down the pack. We're looking pretty long way down the list there. That's the number 12 car fighting for position, Nico Verdonk. But up front, it is Jelmer Berman on his debut in GT1, who has got the lead over Michael Krum in second. The Nicky Pastorelli Lamborghini running third. Yeah, one of the Fords has taken a big hit. One of the Nissans, that's Dumbreck. Peter Dumbreck in big trouble. The front flips up on the number 40 car, and that is Bas Linder's car. That's bitterly disappointing. It's actually Riccardo Rosati in the car at the moment. Bas was due to take it over later on, and drama on this opening lap. Now, this might help Thomas Enger and Alex Muller in their Aston Martin. They only qualified back on the 4th row. Thomas is in the car at the moment and desperately trying to move up the order as we're on board with Michael Krum, who sensibly stayed out of that confrontation with the Corvette in the first corner. There is, unfortunately, though, Peter Dumbreck's car limping its way back towards the pits, and unfortunately the suspension damage on that's going to be too severe for them to continue, I would think. There's the number 4 Aston Martin, also one of the cars with an outside chance at the title, but again, that car's got to finish 1 or 2 to keep the championship battle alive. There, unfortunately, Riccardo Rosati has brought that Ford back into the pits. That car got damaged, as did Peter Dumbreck's car, which you just saw coming into pit lane behind in the background there. So unfortunately for JRM, and that is crucial because JRM, who look after Peter Dumbreck's Nissan as well as Michael Krum's car, they're trying to win the team's championship. Now, what this does is it gives young driver Aston Martin a very, look at the crabbing.
Oh, that's
terrible damage on the, well, not terrible, but it's basically broken a toe link at the back, I would think. And they're simply not going to be able to get that car repaired to go back out in this race. So very, very unfortunate there for JRM, and it does have a big bearing on the team's championship. As I say, young driver Aston Martin lead the team points coming into this race, and now it's 1 against 1 effectively, because you've still got the Krum Nissan in this race, but Enger and Muller's Aston is still also in there. Riding on board with Thomas Enger, who's in 9th place here. He's chasing down that Lamborghini. Christopher Haas has big contact there. That's the Marc Basseng has made contact with one of the other Lamborghinis, I think it was, and that's really disappointing for him. Oh, and he's got past the number 47 car. That's Christopher Haas, who has to take the shortcut there. So drama here with one of the championship contenders. Yeah, he's got back on, but he's lost ground because I think there may be damage on the Lamborghini, and Christopher Haas is now dropping back down the order after showing tremendous pace. You didn't quite see how that all began, but certainly enlivening things in that mixed group, which is battling over 6th and 7th places. And just take a look at this replay of the start here, Johnny, and talk us through it.
There, where you see Berman there gets the right line, really. He's on the outside, but it's such a wide entry to that right-hander there. A bit further back. There's a bit of...
pretty good, actually.
It was very clean. It was a little bit later on that lap where we saw the contact.
Yeah.
So, but no, a very clean first corner. I know last year there was a little bit of goings on.
There was.
Let's say. So that was a good clean one.
There were Aston Martins spinning everywhere last year. Thankfully this time it didn't occur. Aston came back despite various people getting in trouble last year with double win here for the Hexis team. But right now it's a Corvette that leads. Corvette yet to win a championship race so far this year. In fact, to win a qualifying race as well, although they had success in 2010. But let's wait and see what happens here, because you've still got the championship leaders, Michael Krum and Lucas Law, in a very strong second place. And Jelmer Brabham, although he leads and is maintaining the gap at the moment, it's a long way to go. He's going to be handing over to Francesco Pastorelli, who's also making his GT1 debut in the second half of this race. Piccini, that's Piccini in trouble. Yeah. Andrea Piccini, we saw the bit of damage to the back of his car, but it didn't seem to be affecting him earlier on. But Andrea Piccini has slowed right down, and that is all over now for any scant hopes that they had of still winning the championship, as Enger still under a bit of attack there from Mark Basseng. Change between the two Nissans. Yes, it is. Nicky Katzberg had to really get out of it. Whether he was trying to overtake the Lamborghini, maybe he was, and in doing so ran too deep or whatever, but it has allowed Jamie Campbell-Walter now to move up into 4th place.
I think this is a replay.
We'll take a look in a second. And a spin there for Christopher Nygaard in the number 9 Ford. So all going on, whether there's any fluid down there, I don't know, but certainly a bit of action going on at the chicane there. And this lap has seen plenty going on because Andrea Piccini has dropped back. Thomas Enger still in the race in the young driver Aston Martin, and he'll be desperate to try and move up because then young driver can still keep their hopes alive in the team's championship. Now, this is the Piccini car. We saw him drop back, Johnny.
Puncture there, obviously. That's what it was. It was a puncture on the front. See the tyre there?
Right.
He runs over his own tyre.
So the tyre's peeled off the rim.
Yeah.
So that's why he suddenly slowed down. Jamie Campbell-Walter again trying to get past the Lamborghini. Now, this is where he needs the overlap. Can he get his nose alongside? Not quite there.
Not quite. Seems to be where he's sort of at best. It's very tricky on that latter part of the circuit to get anywhere. He gets close, but it's very hard to pass. That seems to be his best opportunity, but he's got to get the corner before that chicane there to throw himself up the inside. Lost a bit of time there, but that's just where he's fighting it. And we have another fight.
Yeah, this is Mark Basseng fighting away with the other Hexis Aston Martin. I think that was or is it Thomas Enger? He's battling with the Hexis car, isn't it? So that car must have made some progress because Steph Dusseldorf, I think, must have gained a bit of ground on this last lap. Both come in together. So this is going to be the battle of the pit lane now. It's going to be Al Inkel. There's Dominic Schwager ready to take over from Pastorelli. And it's going to be Jamie Campbell-Walter to hand over to David Brabham.
Yeah, and I think we're very aware.
But Brabham's not quite ready. They're trying to get Brabham ready.
Yeah, but we know the Nissan they've been working very, very hard on their, I hope David's out, very hard on their pit stop. Now he's finally ready.
So maybe that's
a late call, I think.
Yeah, maybe that caught them out a little bit.
Well, I'm basing this on their pit stops have been so good, they reckon this is a good opportunity for them to actually jump them in the pits, make it a lot easier. So this is going to be an important stop for these guys. And if that Nissan can get out in front, it just make their job a little bit or a lot easier.
Well, 10 seconds before he came in the pit lane, David Brabham didn't have his helmet on. Away goes the 37 car. That was a great stop. Oh, it's been a slow stop for the Sumo Power guys. Oh,
the nuts. The nuts.
Can you believe it? Just when they needed a great stop, they were fighting so hard. It's all gone horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah,
well,
nuts crossed, obviously, and he can't get the damn thing off.
They would be hoping that it happens.
Oh, there we go.
I suppose to the Sumo car rather than the JRM car, but
disaster.
That's horrible because Jamie Campbell-Walter had fought so hard in that first section of the race, and now that's all gone away. Michael Krum coming in to hand over to Lucas Luhr. Now, they need just a calm stop here. They don't need the problem that we saw afflict the Sumo Power car. They're running around. They've got them done so far. Very calm between the two experienced drivers, Luhr and Krum. That wheel comes off. It was this one that caused the problem on the Sumo. No such problem for JRM. The sister team gets the Nissan out. So, Jelmer Brabham has led start to finish so far. He is now handing over to another name that's unfamiliar in GT1 circles, and that is Francesco Pastorelli, younger brother of Nicky Pastorelli, who's already done his stint in the Lamborghini. And Francesco, well, at one point Nicky said to him, why don't you just come out to Argentina and we'll have a nice time together? And Francesco said, well, I'd rather be racing. And upon that, he got an offer.
Oh, we're okay.
And he's away. He is away eventually. That was a bit of a problem, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little. I think he was doing it one-handed. I think he was just not quite on the nut correctly, and that just lost him a bit of time. But we can see Michael is still.
Well, that's
not
Lucas.
Michael. Sorry, that's Lucas. Is still quite quite a way behind.
I think so, yeah. I think the Corvette's still going to be in front by the time he comes onto the circuit. But of course, the question is now, how is Francesco Pastorelli going to deal with this? There is he coming out of the pit lane. Don't go over the white line.
Lucas just coming into shot.
So the gap is still quite an appreciable one. But
shrink.
Yeah, Francesco Pastorelli is surely going to take a lap or so to get up to speed. Having said that, his qualifying performance this morning was pretty good. He was only a few tenths slower than Jelmer Berman in his section of qualifying, and he was right up there in the mix. So he is not a slow driver at all, is Pastorelli, the younger Pastorelli. He's a former Formula Ford champion in the Benelux Series, the Dutch Championship, raced in the UK a little bit as well, raced in the ALMS Series in the States. Alex Muller on attack here, and Alex Muller getting past Piccioni. Surely he's got the move made this time. Yes, the Golf car does just get past the Hexis car, so the young driver team will be pleased about that to gain some valuable championship points in the team's battle.
Yeah, it's just a replay of Alex there. Comfortably passing. Well, it looked quite comfortable from this point of view. He gets a bit close as we go under the braking.
Look, he's massively closer now, and Pastorelli surely must be struggling, whether it's on the brakes or what's happening. Yeah, it's 6/10 as they cross the line this time. Now, the Astons have been having a really good dice. Let's see what Alex Muller... Alex Muller, it wasn't his mistake, it was Piccioni's mistake. Oh my goodness, he nearly hit the tyres.
Yeah, and he's lost that to Marcus.
Yep, and now Winkelhock through, isn't it? So the Lamborghini's gone past. We're just still with the race leaders. The gap was 0.53 on that lap, and so far so good. Can he keep it together for the remainder of this race? Lovely stuff. And what a story it would be for the two youngsters to emerge with a victory here, and particularly for Francesco, who's done so little racing in the last couple of years. As I say, working on the cars more than driving them. But right now, things are looking very, very good indeed. But under pressure, he's got to keep his head, keep his cool, and keep the potential world champions behind in the remaining few laps here. Francesco Pastorelli, the younger brother of Nicky Pastorelli, who's won races this year in GT1, but Nicky has had so many disappointments. How will he feel to see his brother here? Nicky will be watching this from pit lane thinking, I've had to work so hard to get to this point, and he's here on his first ever race. Here we go then.
Here's that impression.
Coming into the last section of the circuit now, and it looks as though we're not only going to have a new winner, we are going to have new world champions, because as the cars come out of the final turn, it's going to be a victory for the Corvette. Francesco Pastorelli and Jelmer Berman take the win, but the new world champions are Michael Crum and Lucas Law. They have done it. They have won the 2011 title, kept the pressure on at the end there. A remarkable story, but the German pairing on board that Nissan have taken the world title in the first race of the weekend. Third place goes to Dominic Schweger in this race. Bernoldi finishes a fine fourth in the Sumo Nissan. Muller finishes fifth with Thomas Henger. Winkelhock sixth with Marc Basseng. That wasn't enough for them, but for this ex-Bank Team China, for Patrick Salazar and his small, close-knit family-run team, husband and wife-run team, they have taken victory in the qualifying race. Well, let's go and get some immediate reaction. Hayley Coxon's with one of the new world champions, Michael Crum.
Congratulations to our new world champion. Well done, Michael. What a season you and Lucas have had.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. I mean, a big thank you to Nissan, to the team, to Lucas, to the mechanics. I mean, it's been an absolutely amazing year, and I can't believe that we finished like this. And yes, we were lucky with Darren's unfortunate happening yesterday with Aston, but we proved today, I think, that we are the quickest car, and tomorrow maybe we can show it again. But we're very, very happy.
Congratulations, thank you.
Indeed, congratulations. And what about these two, Francesco Pastorelli and Jelmer Berman? Jelmer, who did an amazing first stint to open up that gap, and then Pastorelli, who did enough to hold on to it. But these two guys, that's lovely to see. They've worked so well together. And there is Francesco Pastorelli. Now, you'd never know he was Nicky Pastorelli's brother, would you?
Nope, not at all. They're not similar, are they?
Not at all. But it's lovely for them. Lovely for these two guys, he and Jelmer Berman. And in fact, he'll be on the podium with his brother. That's nice. Together. Let's get down and hear now from Lucas Law.
Congratulations, Lucas, a new world champion. You and Michael Crum have been unbeatable this season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say, really. I just, thanks to Nissan, to Michael, especially to Michael. I learned a lot from him. He's a great guy. and you know, incredibly quick. So that always allowed me to raise my game a little bit, and you know, to be champions now is wonderful for me and Michael. Winning with the number 23 Nissan is just great. You know, I don't have other expressions.
How tempted were you to try and take the win, Lucas? We saw you fighting, but we were wondering whether you were going to try and take it or just relax, and you did relax. You are world champion, but did you really want the win as well?
Yeah, of course I was going for it, and the guys on the radio said, don't take any risk, and I was pushing as hard as I could, and in the last couple of laps I saw him, you know, he was a little bit slower, but at the end it doesn't matter. We are world champions, and now the pressure is off, and we're going to have a fantastic race tomorrow.
Thank you, Lucas. Congratulations.
Lovely to see the emotion there. To win the FIA GT World Championship, that really means something. Let's get down to the pits now, though, and hear from our new boys, the race winners.
Congratulations, Francesco. Finally, a win in the Corvette.
Yeah, that's why Patrick asked us, I think, but that's why we're here. Thank you.
What does it mean to you to be in the winner's enclosure with your brother as well?
That's the best for my father, who's looking at home, so now he has his two sons on the podium.
And how much pressure did you feel having to do well here this weekend, knowing that your brothers had a good season in the GT1 World Championship?
Yeah, it was quite a big pressure, but then after the qualifying, there was more hope to come, and then yeah, when I saw the gap stayed the same in the last few laps, then I believed in it.
Yeah, when all your friends and family in Holland have got to be going crazy right now.
Well, I did get a lot of text and Twitter feeds, everything. So yeah, I think it was you know, it was a great race, and I enjoyed the first couple of laps. Then Francesco finished the job, so it was you know, a great race. Really enjoyed it, and now looking forward to tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
So the results seeing Pastorelli and Berman taking the victory in the Corvette, but second place enough for Luca and Krum to wrap up the title, and they were only 3/10 behind there at the end. Third place went to the Alinco Lamborghini of Dominic Schwager and Nicky Pastorelli, and in fourth place, not far behind them, just a few tenths of a second, Enrique Bernoldi and Nicky Katzberg, one of their best finishes of the year as well. Alex Muller and Thomas Enger had to settle for fifth ahead of the Winkelhock Basseng Lamborghini, and then the David Brabham Campbell Walter car, which lost out so long in the pit stops, and that's really what hurt their attempt. Picerni Düsseldorf were 8th, Blauk and Haas were 9th, Paltala and Leclerc were 10th. The other Corvette was 11th with Rossi and Verdonk. Jonathan Hershey was 12th with Christopher Nygaard, and still shown as having fastest lap. Then the Lamborghini behind there of Kennard and Brook. Then the Aston, the Hexis Aston of Hohenadel and Piccini, they suffered a puncture, of course. Martin and Clary, that car pulled off to the side of the road. Westbrook and Dunbreck out on the first lap and coming back in for a few laps just to check it was all okay. So let's get ourselves back down to the pits. James Rumsey, the boss of JRM, the Nissan cars, let's go and hear from him.
Congratulations, James. While you're having your celebratory lolly there, I just want you to say, what does it feel for you guys to be world champions here today?
Oh, it's amazing. The team have done a great job all year, as have the drivers. We've had ups and downs, but they've come through it in the end. Just need to concentrate on tomorrow now, really, and try and get the team's championship.
It's still a fight. Are you confident that you can maybe take it tomorrow?
I hope so. We'd like to see if we can get 22 repaired well enough. He seems to have put in some good laps, so hopefully he'll be in the points tomorrow and we can bring it home.
Thank you, James.
Well, they've closed within 2 points of the leaders, the Young Driver Aston team now in that team's championship. So, and with 2 cars to run, rather than Young Driver only having 1 car, and with one of their cars there starting up on the front row, and Luca and Krum, there's no doubt what they'll be going for. That's the race win tomorrow. It's going to be tough for Young Driver to stay ahead. So there are the points. It's enough for Krum and Luca to take the title. Luca and Turner's second place will be under threat tomorrow when we get into the main race. Remember, 18 points for second place would bring, for example, Mark Basseng, Marcus Winkelhock, or Thomas Enger and Alex Muller onto a tie in terms of points. And here we are, all set to go with the last race of the year. It is all about to happen for the final event of the FIA GT1 World Championship here from San Luis. As we've already seen, the championship got sorted yesterday in the qualifying race in terms of the drivers, but the team's championship is still to be fought for here this afternoon, and I can tell you JRM are very keen to try and do that. Track temperature 40 degrees, so it's warm. It's slightly earlier in the day for the race than it was yesterday, and it's an absolutely stunning day. Beautiful weather conditions, barely any cloud at all, Johnny, so really ideal conditions, but it's going to be warm inside those cockpits.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the warmest we've seen since we've been here, so yeah, it's going to be a little bit warmer for these guys, but their fitness is very high, so they'll be fine.
Taking a look at this 6.2 or 3.9 mile track, which winds its way around the lake. Some of it has been increased in size and width, and we took a ride round yesterday, Johnny, and I know you're pretty impressed with it.
Very impressed, I think. It's just my first impression when I first sort of came through the little valley and then came into the opening, the lake in the middle, the mountains around, and a fantastic track as well.
Yeah, very challenging. Couple of fast corners and twisty sections too, so it really tests cars and drivers to a pretty high level. Looking down on the grid there is the number 3 Hexis car that's starting on the 4th row of the grid of Cliffio Piccioni, and well, they had a bit of a disappointing time yesterday. They'll certainly be looking to try and move up the grid. Hexis are still in with an outside chance of the team's championship, but it is an outside chance. They really need some of their rival teams to have a bit of a problem today. They sit in 3rd place in the points on 195, and they had a great run here last year. David Brabham will be starting the number 21 Nissan. He was very fast in the latter stages of yesterday's race, but that pit stop proved to be so costly, and it meant that they weren't able to challenge for a podium place. And then just a little bit ahead of them is the Lamborghini of Marcus Winkelhock and Mark Basseng. We saw Marcus earlier on, Johnny.
Yeah, we did, yeah. And I think they know it's going to be tough for them, but I think they actually didn't look so bad yesterday. So they have a sort of an outward chance of doing well. But they've got both those Lamborghinis up there, 2nd and 3rd row, so they're in a good position.
Marcus taking on board plenty of fluids and trying to keep cool as well. Basseng on the right-hand side there. And these two who were for so long major championship challengers, unfortunately not able to do that anymore. But let's get back to the battle for the team's championship. Jan Struve of young driver Aston Martin will talk to us now.
Jan, you've got quite the fight on your hands, starting from 3rd row back. Can you take the team's championship?
I can say one thing, we will do our very best. We will fight to the end, and I hope the race will keep exciting the whole way, and then all cars stay in the race, so we will really end it in a good way and not too many crashes.
Thank you.
So young driver, they have that 3-point advantage going into this final race of the season, but there are 2 cars that they're racing against, the 2 Nissans, of course, of the JRM team, the 23 car of Krum and Law, and the 22 car of Westbrook and Dumbreck. And that car was actually fastest in the warm-up this morning. They will be starting from the back of the grid after the accident that occurred to them. They got caught up in a midfield melee, and unfortunately that meant they dropped right to the back of the pack. Not quite last on the grid, but with plenty of work to do. Just like taking a look at another of the Nissans, another of the Sumo Power cars, starting on the 2nd row. That's the car of Enrique Bernoldi and Nicky Katzberg, and they were pretty satisfied with their performance yesterday, hoping obviously to try and get on the podium here today in the main championship race. There is Enrique Bernoldi, a man who raced in Maserati here last year, but comfortable in the Nissan now, of course. And then as we go on to that other part of the 2nd row of the grid, we've got the Dominic Schweger and Nicky Pastorelli Lamborghini here. And again, potential race winners. I know they felt they perhaps could get a little bit more out of the car today. They have made a few little changes, so perhaps Dominic Schweger there will be in good form in the first part of the race, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the car's quite a nice handling car. As you said, they've made a few changes to it. The conditions are different. The car will behave a little bit different, and it might come to them.
Yeah, we'll have to see. They start on that 2nd row of the grid. But up front, on the front row, we've got our new drivers' champions, of course, Lucas Law and Michael Krum. And they are just so over the moon at having taken this World Championship. It means so much. I said to Michael, is this the biggest win in your career? And he said, absolutely, definitely, to take a world title. That was what encouraged him to get involved in this program in the first place. But look at the stage that we are watching this final race on. It is remarkable. A huge lake there, the track winding its way around that lake. You've got the little town of Potrero de las Funes sort of dotted around it as well. And we're just a few miles outside San Luis. Actually, there's another permanent racetrack at San Luis. It seems remarkable that this province has 2 major tracks, but this one only run once per year. But what a majestic track it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those words are perfect for it, because it's just such a wonderful setting, but the track itself is very good for the drivers, and they thoroughly enjoy driving around here.
So now there has unfortunately been in this San Luis area a tragedy earlier this week when a school bus carrying young students was hit by a freight train and 6 girls plus 2 teachers were killed. As a further mark of respect, there will now be a 1-minute silence. That's the end of the minute silence. That's the end of the minute silence in memory of the victims of that tragic accident that occurred in St. Louis earlier this week. And, well, a lot of thoughts, of course, for the families involved there. This is it meant a huge amount to this small region, really, and a lot of thoughts. There are stickers on the cars in memory as well. So everybody has those families in their thoughts this afternoon. So well, we are building up now, of course, to the final race of the season, and looking forward to this final battle getting underway. Guys, just a moment to finishing off this moment silence, and there we are, just getting ready now to get on board the cars and climb aboard. It will be Lucas Luca who starts the race this time. Michael Krum started yesterday. Now, I know for sure that they want to win this race. I spoke to the guys earlier on. They've won the Drivers' Championship. They really want to win the race now, but they're under instructions from James Rumsey, and understandably so, that the Team's Championship takes priority here, Johnny.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I quite understand why. It's something that they're looking very good at the moment. They were very strong yesterday. I think in a different situation, I'm sure Lucas would have tried to take that race win. But the Nissans, to be perfectly honest, look so strong here. So for me, I think they would be my favourites.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. Up against them, of course, on the front row, they've got the Corvette that won yesterday. But as we mentioned in the coverage yesterday, we've got 2 young drivers there. And it's Francesco Pastorelli who starts this time, who is, as we mentioned, the younger brother of Nicky Pastorelli, regular on the GT1 Championship trail. But Francesco hasn't really been doing a lot of racing in the last couple of years. He actually works as a mechanic and team manager himself in the Dutch Supercar Series, working on Corvettes. And then this weekend he's had this chance, sort of last gasp opportunity. And I tell you what, they're running on such a restricted budget. Not only did they not use new tyres on Friday, they didn't even do the warm-up this morning because they're saving their pennies. And yet they took a win yesterday. Let's get down to the grid, though, and hear from one of our new world champions.
Michael, yesterday Lucas held back. He didn't fight for that win, but today, obviously, it's a completely different situation.
Well, I wish. We're trying to secure the team title as well, so it's actually a little bit similar. But nevertheless, I mean, we're a little bit tired of following other people, so actually we, the 2 of us want to full attack. But we want to win that race, that's clear. But we can't really throw it away either, so it's going to be a little bit of a difficult balance. But certainly we want to win it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can see the relaxation in his face now that they have won it. And when I spoke to him earlier, Johnny, he was actually telling me, he was very honest, he said when they went out for qualifying on Saturday, he was so tight. He wasn't driving properly at all. All he did was it was sheer determination to get a good lap in session 2 of qualifying, he felt, because he felt he wasn't driving at all well, he wasn't loose enough. You know how it is, if you're too under pressure, you don't get that flow.
Absolutely, and I think it's great that he was able to overcome that and get themselves in a brilliant position to take that World Championship. Well deserved, a very, very good, strong year.
Yeah, they've had 3 championship wins so far. Can they wrap up the season with another victory? To add to, they've had 1 qualifying race win already. Lucas Luca has had an amazing season because not only is he racing in the GT1 World Championship, he's been racing in the American Le Mans Series. He's been racing in the VLN Series in Germany. He's won the Nürburgring 24-hour race this year, plus 2 other VLN races. He's had 4 race victories in the ALMS. So Lucas Luhr has just had the most stunning season, and you could really see that in his emotion at the end of yesterday's race. So the drivers are in their cars now, and we're going to be getting them out on circuit for their formation lap fairly soon and see how they get their speed up. It is, of course, that Corvette that was so quick up on the front row. But don't forget the 2 cars that are behind as well. We've got a Lamborghini and another Nissan sitting on the second row of the grid. But most importantly, of course, as we just take a look there at the pole car, we've got to see how the young driver Aston Martin of Alex Muller gets on in the early stages of this race. He starts from 5th place on the grid, and if young driver are going to beat JRM Racing there with their Nissan, then the Aston Martin has got to make some progress fairly early on, I would say, and that's got to be on their minds. Just a quick adjustment of the vents inside the car there of the Nissan, and I was told by some of the drivers actually that the sort of sand and dust that exists around this track actually is being thrown into the car through that ducting, and it's making it very gritty and very sandy inside the cars. And I was looking at one of the cars after the race yesterday, and it looked as though it had been in a sandblaster. I mean, the front end of the car just absolutely pitted, and the paint taken away, and just really, really tricky in those terms. Cars on their formation lap now, Johnny, so we'll see how they managed to deal with this, and we'll also take a little look at how they line up on the grid. It is the Corvette that's on pole position then. Pastorelli on pole with alongside him the new champions. Then on the second row of the grid we have the Schwager Pastorelli Lamborghini and the Bernoldi Katzberg Nissan. Behind them, all important, it's Alex Muller in the Aston Martin and the number 38 Lambo next door. Then it's Brabham on that 4th row of the grid with the first of the Hexis cars. Then Lamborghini and Ford together on row number 5. On row number 6, it's the other Corvette, Michael Rossi starting that one. On row number 7, we've got Jonathan Kennard and Christian Hohenadel. And then as we get towards the back, it is the Bassliners and Westbrook cars together on row 8. And at the back, Max Martin. They've not had a very good weekend so far. So cars on their formation lap now. And we'll just see how they begin to pick up a bit of tyre temperature. What are the thoughts going through their heads at the moment, Johnny?
Yeah, well, I think they're just going to be fixed on trying to sort out their tyres, get them as warm as they possibly can. Well, as you said, Ben, it was interesting yesterday when we did a lap round there. You can actually hear all the grit and the dust that is actually on the circuit. And some of the drivers have actually said that there is sort of one racing line. You go off that and you pick up all this dirt and sand and bits that are on the circuit, and then of course then it makes it a little bit more difficult because you lose a bit of grip. So so it'd be interesting now if these guys can get that warmth in there and have a really clean start. That's going to be the most important factor.
Just had the onboard view with Alex Muller as he weaves that Aston Martin around. Really, we've got to focus on how that Aston Martin gets on in the early laps and see how he is able to try and close up on these guys ahead and hopefully be able to make a bit of a challenge for the title. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and it's something now that these drivers have, they know this track very well now. They got used to it. They know exactly where they need to be on the circuit. They know the track is rubbering up. We can see how dark it is actually on the racing line. You see on the right where it's quite light. That is exactly how it started. So the grip level is going to have gone up a little bit after the race yesterday. The temperature is a little bit higher. I don't think that's going to make too many problems. It's not a very abrasive circuit, which when you have abrasive circuits, it normally is really hard on the tyre. So this one is not, so it's not hard on the tyre. What is good is just the rubber that these cars actually lay down and then give it a lot of grip. So it'll be an interesting one to see how much faster actually they are than yesterday. But I think it's going to be quite an interesting battle, that's for sure.
It is. There is Jelmer Berman, who won yesterday and hoping to make it a championship race win on his debut, and that would be absolutely fantastic if they can take a championship race win. Of course, winning the qualifying race means they didn't actually get to sit on the podium, or stand on the podium rather, because you only get the proper podium after the championship race. You get the big points on offer as well, and that's what they want, and a trophy too. So all the big prizes are on offer today as opposed to the qualifying race yesterday, and we'll just have to wait and see if they're able to do that. But it's going to be a tall order with Michael Krum and Lucas Luhr next to them on the grid, and they will have to push pretty hard, I think. I know that Lucas's plan going into the first corner is certainly to go on the attack, but not to take too many chances. They don't want to miss out on an opportunity to win the team's championship as well. So a good grid of cars once again. There is the team boss, Patrick Salazar, of that Corvette, the Exim Team China car, which did so well yesterday. How is Francesco Pastorelli going to deal with the extra pressure of starting up front himself? He managed to win the race when he took the car over yesterday, but now he's got to get the rolling start just right. They're coming up through the final turn. They've got to get themselves all queued up nice and neatly to be able to get the signal to go for the start. We are getting ready for the final race of the championship. The last event of 2011 in the FIA GT1 World Championship is about to go. Watch the lights are out already, and it is the Corvette that makes the corner. Oh! And the world champions are taken out. The world champions are out in a big crash immediately. And it's taken the Aston out as well, though. I think the young driver car, is it involved in the, I'm not sure it is. No, I'm not sure it is. The young driver car might have had a bit of contact, but I don't think they might have got through that. So let's see, it's one of the sumo pack. The Aston's at the back. The Aston's right at the back. The race has been brought under yellow flags, of course, and you're on board here with Alex Muller. He is still going. He is still going now. What are they? It's under green, actually. It's not under yellow yet. They've all slowed down, but actually it's not under safety car conditions at the moment. So maybe the start was called off. Michael Krum watching, oh, he can't believe it, from the pit lane. Well, it didn't happen yesterday. It could have done, of course. They've won the Drivers' Championship. But Johnny, could you see how that all started?
Not really. I could only see there a Lamborghini. I saw a movement from a Lamborghini that then hit the back of, I think it was Michael Krum, but I'm not really sure. Again, we'll have to really see on the replay. But obviously someone definitely got tapped. Here we go.
So, coming down, the Corvette moves across.
Yeah, it's the Nissan. No, it's the Nissan actually hits the back of the Alinco Lamborghini, and that actually then shot him across and losing control. So it was actually the Nissan there. Yeah. I don't know which one that was.
It's the Bernoldi car, I think, the number 20 Bernoldi car, which was starting in 4th place on the grid. But as you say, there was a bit of movement sort of behind, one way then the other. And look at the wreck that we've now got. The leader, the safety car is out, as you can see. The safety car, it's being told on our timing screens, will actually bring them through the pit lane. That shows you how much they're trying to sort out the problem. It's almost, well, it is virtually blocked down there on the main straight. Drivers out of their cars, the Lamborghini number 38 car of 37 car of Schweiger and Pastorelli out of the race as well. All the drivers trying to work out what on earth. I think both Lambos are out, because that's Winkelhock too, isn't it? So both of the Alenco Lamborghinis are out of the race. And what a shame, what a deep disappointment that this is for everybody involved in the series and for everybody watching, because we were looking forward so much to a great finale to the season. But Lucas Luhr out of his car, they're not going to get that final race victory that they were hoping for. And that is Schweiger and Lucas Luhr trying to work out how it all happened. And Lucas is saying, well, where were you and what was going on? They will need to look at the replay themselves, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's seen actually that Lucas didn't get the best of starts. You know, you can see his neck there. He's, I think he's hit that wall quite hard, horrible angle. So his neck's obviously a bit sore, maybe a bit sore late. You can see, yeah, he's actually bending down and stuff. So
Jonathan Kennard, I wondered which was the other Lamborghini. It's Jonathan Kennard there on the right of picture as he walks up the pit lane. So he's also out of the race. So we've lost a huge number of cars, really. There is his car at the back. The number 48 car is Jonathan car. We've got the number 21 Sumo Power Nissan. That's the Jamie Campbell-Walter David Brabham car. David Brabham, there's Mark Basseng looking furious. Absolutely furious with what has happened here. And what a shame, because this season has actually been pretty clean. We were talking about it earlier over the weekend. There haven't been too many events where there's been a lot of damage done, the odd spin, the odd mishap, but that is a huge amount of damage, and 2 Al-Inkle cars absolutely smashed apart. That's why Mark Basseng is so deeply upset. Let's get down to the pits, because Haley Coxon has found Lucas Luhr on his way back in.
Lucas, such a disappointing start for you, not the way you wanted to end the weekend.
Oh, especially I don't know what happened. You know, the Corvette had a better get-go, and I was behind him, and suddenly I just felt a big hit from the right, the right side, and my car just went into a 90 degrees angle straight into the wall, and then I just closed my eyes, and there was a couple of more cars were hitting, and you know, well, I don't know what happened.
I'm glad you're okay. Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you, Haley. We had another look at it, Johnny. I mean, we could see it developing a bit more that time.
Yeah, well, you can see Lucas's car is sort of on the left as we looked at the screen. The other Sumo car was actually sort of then to its left or to its right as we were looking, and then they touched. That knocked the Sumo over to the left. That hit the back of the Lamborghini that then sort of really started everything on. So it was actually the two Nissans, it looked as actually that actually came together.
Yeah, well, it was sort of, it looked like Dominic Schwager was just beginning to squeeze over a little bit, which is understandable. Let's have a look from one of the onboards as they come down to, this is the onboard, the other Corvette, the number 12 car, as they came down, and it's all sort of happening ahead, and did he manage to, he did well there to avoid it, didn't he?
There's the young driver there spinning.
So
spinning on our left.
That is the Aston. We thought it was involved somehow, but it's not been left there in this wreckage yard that all these other cars are in. And still, obviously, it's going to take some time to get these cars moved. The leaders that are still running have come through the pit lane. There's David Brabham.
And then on the right, I don't know what happened, but the Lamborghini went like this. So someone was here, and the Lamborghini like that. And then the accident went over there, straight in front of me. I had nowhere to go.
It's certainly the Lamborghini he's talking about there is the Dominic Schwager Al Inkel car, which was certainly a part of that. It was starting on the second row of the grid and trying to just find a bit of space, but he was also had Bernoldi very close as well. Well, in fact, Bernoldi was on the other side. He probably didn't quite see him. So there was probably a part of not being able to see each other, not quite being able to work out where everybody was going. I think it might just turn out to be one of those things. I don't think anybody was necessarily doing anything very naughty.
No, you can't see anybody sort of weaving or squeezing over on a car. I think they just all went into that corner all together, side by side, close as they always are. And I think they just, unfortunately, it sort of one touched, and then it sort of then actually everybody else started touching as well. And then we saw the final sort of major crash, big crash there, especially Lucas. I think he definitely seemed a little bit shaken from that.
Just watching the Astons actually come to the front of the queue, which I don't quite understand. What you're looking at the moment is the Aston of Alex Muller's come to the front of the queue behind the safety car, ahead of the Corvette that was actually leading when the race was sort of neutralised.
Yeah, well, I think that was where we were a bit confused, wasn't it? Because the track was actually still green on our monitor. It was only a bit later that it did. So I think when we saw people overtaking, I think there was a bit of confusion, but I don't know why you would have eased off, because normally you ease off only when you see the sort of safety car.
Yeah. Take another look now. Watch the Lamborghini on the middle right of the shot. He starts to come across.
Well, there's a tiny little the white one here.
Bernoldi.
Yeah, that's Bernoldi. There's a slight movement to his left as we look, or his right, but our left.
There's the young driver, Aston, spinning in the foreground.
Didn't hit the wall.
But that was a big hit, as you said, for Lucas Luhr. And look at the way the cars then just shunt their way all the way down the wall there. Fans getting a pretty close-up opportunity to see what was going on. A bit too close, I should think, with all that debris and dust and sand being thrown around. So you're looking at the onboard shot. Now, as you say, the Corvette slowed down, but it wasn't actually under safety car. So the Aston went past, but at that time, was it actually under safety car conditions? He may have got in front actually justifiably. We'll have to wait and see what the race director decides to do about this. It's mixed up the whole grid, and I can tell you, for example, that Richard Westbrook, who remember started at the back of the grid, he is coming around behind the safety car currently in 4th place. So, you know, he's taken advantage, but presumably fairly, from the situation. But it's going to take a little bit of sorting out. And Westbrook, as I say, coming around in 4th. Manuel Lauk has come around well up as well in the Lamborghini, the multicolored Lamborghini. There is the number 22 Nissan just coming through the pits as they're still being waved through the pits under safety car. Quite unusual to see this under safety car conditions, but obviously because the accident is still being sorted on the start-finish straight, they are bringing them through the pit lane. Alex Muller there up ahead, and this really puts a different complexion on the team's championship battle. It is going to be 1 against 1, but has that Aston got away with it without damage? I mean, it got into a big spin. I thought it glanced the wall, but very difficult to tell if it actually hit the wall hard or not, and maybe it was just a sort of 360 and he was able to get going again.
Yeah, so from what we can see, that's almost what it looks like. It doesn't look as actually he's made contact with the wall. We're not sure, but it didn't look like it. It looked as he had a sort of almost one of those dead straight lucky spins and didn't actually hit anything.
So still clear up operation. That's going to take a little longer yet.
A while.
Yeah, on board with the number 11 Corvette. So Francesco Pastorelli certainly being thrown at the deep end with what do I do here? And he's been told by he was obviously told by the team there's been a huge shunt on the start-finish straight. You're going to need to back off. But the yellows or safety car weren't actually out at that point that he was backing off. He was just going slowly, thinking, well, I better go slowly. But perhaps that, maybe that wasn't quite the right thing to do at that point. So the umbrellas and parasols are out to protect the fans from the intense sunshine that we're enjoying here just outside San Luis at the Potrero de los Funes circuit. But sadly, the race has not started in ideal way. The clock is still ticking away on this 60-minute race, of course, under safety car. And all these laps definitely count. And you're on board there with Alex Mura, who may now have an opportunity for young driver to win this team's championship. But is that car okay? Will he be allowed to stay there in position behind the safety car? All these things still to be decided. The start incident currently under investigation from the race director and from the stewards. Whether they'll be able to make a call, of course, really all the cars that were involved in it are no longer on track, so no penalties to be applied. So watch Bernoldi at the white-fronted Nissan. Does he
movement?
Yeah, but does he get squeezed across by the Lamborghini, or does he make the movement himself?
Well, I think it's just it looked like a racing thing. There's nothing really going on badly at all. You just see that little tiny movement, and that actually then hits, I think, the side of Lucas's back. So you see.
There goes now. There's spins. He just saw this Aston spinning. No, he doesn't. Does he? No.
No. Look at that.
Well, it's two 360s he does. The Aston does two 360-degree spins, and he rejoins the fray and is now going to be at the front. Well, let's go and find out a bit more from Alex's teammate, Thomas Enger.
Thomas, you do seem to have suffered a little bit of damage to the Aston. How is it performing? Is Alex driving it okay, or is it going to have to come back in?
Well, Alex said that the car seems to be okay. He's got only vibration, and hopefully it is only from the flat-spotted tires as he was spinning. But otherwise, it looks like there is a little bit of damage before the right rear wheel, where the jack is to put the car up during the pit stop. We hope there is not extensive damage to this piece, and obviously we don't know how the geometry is as well. So heartbreaking time for us, but let's keep fingers crossed and let's finish the race as high as possible.
Thank you.
So they hope it's okay, basically, but they don't really know the story until they get up to some speed. But Alex Muller is at the front of the queue. He did take advantage of the fact that everybody was slowing down, but there were no yellows or no safety car out at that precise moment. And he went to the front. Westbrook there, he's also moved up, as I say, to fourth place. Clivia Piccioni's behind in the Hexis Aston Martin. Back in the JRM pit, you could see the disappointment for Michael Krum. And, of course, the anxiety for that team now. Can they still win the team's championship? That's what they want. They want the double. They've got the driver's title, but the team's championship means a massive amount to them, and it's going to be a much taller order. They don't know what the damage on the Aston is either. They're obviously thinking, well, it might not be up to much. It's going to put a lot of pressure on Richard Westbrook when this race does get underway again, for him to see what he can do in the number 22 car. But it was quick this morning in the hands of Peter Dumbrecht, so it looks as though any damage that was done yesterday to it has been fully sorted. And the Fords are all still in the race. Quite often they've been in trouble in the early laps for one reason or another. You've got Bernoldi at the back of the field there, by the way, after there was certainly some involvement from him. Are they going back through the pits again? It looks like they are. Safety car obviously sort of taking it fairly slowly at the moment, just deciding whether they come back through the pits one more time at least. And yes, they are. So it is Alex Muller in the Aston who follows them in with the Corvette behind, then the Lamborghini of Manuel Lauck behind them. He's sharing that car with Christopher Haas, who's been very quick all weekend, and then the rest of the field coming through. But this rather decimated field, I have to say. We're down to 12 cars still running in the event. We've lost 6 from that accident on the first lap, and that is very, very disappointing. So, well, it's going to take a little longer still, I think. I can see just a little brief glimpse of the cars coming through the pit lane from our vantage point. Still obviously waved yellow flags as they come through this section. Does give the young driver team at least a little bit of an opportunity to get a visual check on their car, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as like Thomas said, it's just where the air jacks come down when they do that pit stop. So hopefully it's not covering that jack, because obviously it will sort of not go up properly. It'll be sort of leaning over on that one side. But hopefully it's clear for them. Interesting how they got at the front. It's a funny situation, isn't it, to have that incident. The drivers at the front probably won't be very aware of it, but at the end of the day, when they eased off, there was a lot of confusion, wasn't there? There was different drivers sort of not sure what to do.
Very, very tricky. Let's get down to the pits now and hear from David Brabham, who was involved in it all.
David, your thoughts on that unfortunate incident?
Well, it's not the way to end the season, is it? Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I could see there was an accident happening to my right, and then it quickly moved over to the left, and when you're on the left side there, you're in all the dirt as well, so there's not much you can do. So unfortunately, I got involved in it as well. Shame for Sumo Power. The car was pretty fast this weekend, and I felt we could really do something with it. But well, you know, it's racing. You know, we'll deal with it and we'll move forward, and let's hope we have a good race now.
Did we see you get hit from behind also?
I got hit. Well, I mean, the accident sort of came across in front of me, so I got hit from the side. Then I hit the wall, and then I hit the accident in front of me. So I got a hit from all sides, really. So.
I'm glad you're okay. Thank you, David.
Ricocheting all over the place, I think he was, and very much an innocent party and all that, wasn't he?
Yeah, unfortunately, again, because he's on the left, like you said, it all unfortunately all went to the left, and that was exactly where he needed it to be clear.
So another look here, working it out, particularly between Lamborghini, Nissan, and it just turns the number 23 car, which hits the Aston quite hard, pushing the Aston into a spin. So it is quite a thump that Aston got just in front of the right rear wheel, as Thomas was saying to us earlier. It was quite a knock, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was quite a knock. So hopefully it's amazing. He didn't hit that wall. He was so close to the back end. But again, seeing the car spin, yeah, there's not much damage, but it was a whack. And if it's on the wheel, that's never a good thing. As we see another on board.
This was on board the Corvette, which sort of managed to avoid it, actually. Yeah. Michael Rossi on board this Corvette. On the right-hand side of him there is Manuel Lauck in the Lamborghini 47 car. And then it all starts to crack off here, and he goes right, which is absolutely the right thing to do. He had a car going left anyway. There's the spinning Aston to the left-hand side. That's an amazing shot of the Aston just spinning, the tyre smoke. I'm not surprised he's got a vibration after that one.
No. Well, again, two of those fences, David trying to explain it.
And there we've got in the Sumo Power pit, we've got Nicky Katzberg. David's all right, though. He's okay. But it's fairly glum faces there, understandably, because really we just wanted to have a great race to finish off the season. And now we've lost a whole bunch of cars. The clock is still ticking away, too. And you know what? It's less than 9 minutes now until the pit window opens. So the guys doing the first stint are not going to be doing a lot of racing, whatever happens, because when they do get underway, it's going to be a fairly short run until they might want to make their pit stop. Some might go deeper, but for example, Pastorelli in second place might want to hand over the car to Jelmer Berman, who had such stunning pace in qualifying. They may make an early pit stop, so I don't think Pastorelli's going to get much driving in here. Lovely to see the support from the fans and the crowd getting really into all this. We'll have to see. But let's get down to the pits now and ask Nicky Katzberg about the incident, and particularly about Ben Oldie.
Nicky, can you confirm whether the number 20 car was hit from behind?
I'm not sure if it's hit from behind. I saw someone pushing him inside, and I think that's what caused the crash, but we have to look at the movie to be sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of analysis needs to be done there. It's a tricky one to look at, and if anything, you want to sort of look at all the on-board footage that might exist as well, because the way the cars are moving around, it's quite difficult to tell from just one angle.
Yeah, we need that slow motion as well, really nice slow motion to see exactly what has gone on. But as I think, as we can both see, Ben, you can't really see any car viciously sort of swerving around at all. I think it's just everybody's going into that corner. It goes a little bit narrower as you go where the pit exit is itself, but it's not particularly that much. A difficult one to really spot from what we've seen so far.
Another look here. Again. So, yeah, trying to work out.
Again, there is definitely, it looks as if, I think, with Benoldi, there is a little bit of contact with, from what I can see on that one anyway, a little bit of contact with Winkelhock, I think. Is it Winkelhock? Schwager, is it? Yeah. Schwager there. Then he sort of then moves, because there's a bit of contact, then he hits the side of, or the back of Lucas, and then that's where everything then sets off.
Yeah, and then this was the view from the Corvette. Now, of course, you've been steward recently, Formula One event. When you look at and analyse something like this as a steward, presumably you do get an opportunity to look at different angles and different ways of looking at it, do you?
Yeah, well, again, you can sort of keep doing that replay, that one replay, from, the one we've got ahead of them. just gives you a very good idea, because that's a very good one actually, but you just need to keep on seeing it to see all the cars, to see who moves around. But again, from what we can see, there's not any vicious left or right or leaning on cars. I think it's just all the cars go in there, and it's almost like a little mini filter effect that's gone into it, and I think just they've touched the rear of cars, and that's just set them off. The rear point of a car is always one of the worst, because that will always set the car into a spin.
So yeah, pivoting it around. Well, certainly it was the Lucas Lure Nissan that got the biggest sort of movement going and went smacking into the pit wall. Thankfully, all the drivers are okay. That's the good news. All the drivers are out of their cars, got out very quickly. But there's a lot of bent machinery, sadly, that will be needed to load it back into the crates for the shipping back to Europe. And a very sad way, particularly for the Al Inkle team, to finish the season with two very, very badly damaged cars. We've only got one Lamborghini left in this race, because we lost also the number 48 car that Jonathan Kennard's driving. So Manuel Lauk, who's currently there, third, number 47 there, he's the only Lamborghini still left in this race, which is really very, very disappointing indeed. We've still got all four Fords. We've got the two Corvettes that started the race. We're down on two Nissans, of course. It's just riding on board the number 41 Ford here of Max Martin, who, from his point of view, will be delighted he managed to stay out of trouble. Safety car will no longer be coming through the pits on this next lap, so drivers and teams have been released back over to their pit perches so that they can see what's going on, and the cars will now be coming down the start-finish straight. So they've got most of the clear-up operation done, but just the last little bits to finish. Clock down to 39.5 minutes, so we are now 4.5 minutes away, in theory, from the pit stops being made, or the first pit stops being made. So it could be a very short bit of racing for these guys that have done the first stint of the race. It's going to be the second drivers, I think, who's going to have the real work to do. And don't forget, we've still got this very tantalising prospect of a team's championship to be won. The Aston Martin that leads the race at the moment behind the safety car has the advantage in the team's championship for young driver by 3 points over the team that's running the black and red Nissan that sits in fourth place. That's being driven at the moment by Richard Westbrook, sharing with Peter Dunbrek. That is the car that JRM's hopes are now pinned on, having lost their other car in that first lap accident. But Westbrook, of course, has got several cars, well, just a couple of cars between himself and the Aston.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, it's something, we know how quick they can be, and I think we will see how quick they will be. And I think it's down to, obviously, Richard now to get the best restart he can and get himself into a stronger position, because obviously the more cars he can pass, the sooner, the better off that pit opening is coming up so shortly, and it's going to be down to probably the front cars going longer, because they're the guys who are going to have the longer, the clearest track, and it's going to be the guys who are stuck in traffic who are probably going to have to pit early.
We've still got both Hex's Aston Martins. This is number 4 car, Christian Hohenadel, we rode with there for a second. He runs 6th. Ahead of him is his teammate Clivia Piccioni in the other Hex's car. Actually, we've got all the Astons that started this race still running, because Alex Muller was the only one who got involved in the accident, as we saw, but he's now leading. The other two weren't, and of course the 4th Aston Martin here this weekend never got into the race in the first place, because that was the Darren Turner, Stephan Mucker car that was crashed in a practice accident on Friday, and sadly then wasn't able to take part in the rest of the weekend. And poor Darren Turner, a spectator here today, second year running that he came to this Argentine track with a chance, an outside chance, but a chance of being world champion. Sadly, for the second year running, it's gone against him, and he didn't even get the chance to race for it. But that's the way it goes, and we'll just have to see what happens for young driver with that one remaining car in the race. So, hoping that the safety car might be coming in at the end of this lap. We haven't been given that signal yet. If they turn the lights off on the safety car, it'll be just a little further around than where they are now. The area that they do turn the lights off, it's around turn 14, just after this section that we're going through, down at the bottom of the hill. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, let's just take a little look back at what was going on with the Aston Martin. This was a replay at early stage. That was Westbrook coming through. Now, was the safety car board, were the safety car boards out at this point or not?
I can't see, I'm trying to look everywhere.
Just watching.
Look on the left, because I think most of the flags are on the left, and I couldn't see anything there. You can see there's a lot of confusion, no one knowing really what to do. We're looking again, still can't see anything.
Very difficult to work out exactly what was going on there. And no doubt the race director's been trying to take a look at that. But the safety car is going to be in. And there's Jan Struve, the boss of the young driver team, nervously waiting to see what's going to happen here. Is that Aston going to keep its lead position? Is it going to be allowed to stay up front once the race gets going? We're only a minute away from the pit window opening up. I think they will cross the line in less than a minute, so they won't be able to go straight into the pits. Maybe somebody right at the back of the queue might think about doing that, I suppose. But as they come around now, up towards the final couple of corners and then up to the last right-hander that leads on to start-finish straight, with nearly 25 minutes of racing supposedly underway, we're going to be getting our first proper racing lap. And it's going to be Alex Muller who brings them through that last corner in the young driver Aston Martin. But watch out for Richard Westbrook in the number 22 Nissan, who desperately now needs a good start for the JRM team. The race gets underway once again. Muller trying to pull away from Pastorelli in second place, Francesco that is, and here comes Richard Westbrook making a move on Manuel Lauk for third. Westbrook really going on the attack in the Nissan, but he's not quite alongside as they go into turns 1 and 2, and he has to settle in behind the Lamborghini. Up front, the top two beginning to ease away already, and Westbrook going on the charge here. Manuel Lauk cuts across to the inside in the Lamborghini as we ride on board with Christian Hohenadel right behind his teammate, and Westbrook now knows he's got to try and do something here, but now he's got the Aston up, trying to get past him on the inside there. Piccioni trying to get past Westbrook as Westbrook was trying to get past the Lamborghini. Crazy stuff, but good racing now as they're all released, and it's the Aston of Alex Muller that leads. Westbrook still can't get past that Lamborghini, although potentially he's a lot quicker. He's got a good exit out of the chicane as the Corvette behind trying to move up as well. The number 12 Corvette and Michael Rossi, this is the view from him. And I think that Hohenadel lost out a little bit in the Hexis Aston Martin and might have nearly lost a place to one of the Fords, the Belgian racing Fords, Marcus Paltala in the number 10 car. Oh, Westbrook has got past, he's got past, and there's contact between the Hexis Aston Martin and the Lamborghini, and on board the other car of Christian Hohenadel, who's in the group as well. That was Piccioni's car that had a bit of contact. Oh, what's going on here? Somebody's gone incredibly wide. So that's car 12, it's the Corvette in trouble with the onboard camera, and there was contact, I think, with the Aston, but up front it's the Alex Muller car that's leading from the Corvette in second place, and Westbrook is now in third.
Absolutely. Well, he needed to do it. He needed to do it as soon as he could. He did do that. Took him a little bit longer than I think he wanted to, as we see.
That is
Michael Rossi, yeah, getting out of the car. Sounded a bit engine dead as well, actually, the way it sort of stopped. But anyway, for Richard, it was important that he got ahead, and that seems to be what he's done at the moment. Now he can settle and hopefully close that gap to the leading two.
Oh, this is really exciting stuff now. On board with Christian Hohenadel as he battles his way through, trying to make another place if at all possible. He's battling actually there with Bernoldi. Hohenadel got squeezed out on that lap. I'm not quite sure where it all went on. Look at the pit stops. Several cars coming in straight away for the pit stop. Tyre smoke pouring off Christian Hohenadel's car.
I think he just lost his bonnet there. He's got some bodywork rubbing on that front level. See the smoke from the tyre. So that's not looking very good because he's lost the whole front bonnet.
So Alex Muller's come in from the lead. Thomas Enger taking over as the tyres are changed. Westbrook has come in as well from third place to hand over to Peter Dumbreck.
I didn't think they were ready then.
And the Corvette, is that in? Yes, the Corvette has also come in, I think. So we'll check that and see how they get on with their pit stop as well. And Jelmer Berman will be taking over the Corvette, the number 11 car. So battle in pit lane. Which of them is going to be out first? Tyres still being changed.
There's the Aston.
And the Nissan, there's the 12 Corvette that we saw had pulled off to the side with a lot of damage on that car. And the Aston is still in front of the Nissan, but where's the Corvette? The Corvette, where is it? There. The Corvette's lost 3 places, well, 2 places. It's gone from second, it's down to fourth with Jelmer Berman. Remember, it's a small team that, and they don't have the sort of numbers of people to really work out who's the fastest and fittest of the tyre changes. They do with what they can, but they have lost a bit of time on the pit stop. But Thomas Enger leads in the young driver Aston up against Peter Dumbreck in the JRM. And that is the battle for the team's championship. And whichever one of them wins, if they were to finish first or second, that will be the team's champion, because the gap in points, I think, we'll have to check that, but I think it would be whichever one basically comes out on top of those two. Now, the Jelmer Berman getting up to speed in the Corvette. Drive-through penalty, for the Aston Martin. And that could be the decisive moment in the team's championship.
And that was for overtaking under those safety car procedures that we were trying to see.
So it could all be over in terms of young driver winning the team's championship because of a drive-through penalty for taking the lead under safety car procedures. Now, the race director's taken a while to look at that, analyse it, and has come up with that decision. And that means that Thomas Engel will have a drive-through penalty. It'll drop him way back, and it's their main rivals, of course, Richard Westbrook in the JRM Nissan, who's up there, and it could therefore go right back towards JRM Nissan as we watch the others come through. Marcus Paltala is leading this race in the number 10 Belgian Racing Ford. Now, that's not something we've seen very much this year. One of the yellow Belgian Fords leading a race.
Absolutely, and they've one in third as well. We got two Fords in the top 3, which is absolutely unbelievable. With that, we didn't expect.
No, this is not a Ford track at all.
No.
But they haven't made their pit stops, remember.
Sure.
Nor has Bernoldi in the middle there. So we're waiting for them to make their pit stops and see exactly how it all works out.
Well, for sure,
effectively, Richard Westbrook has the lead.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take a little look back at the replay here of what happened under safety car procedures. There goes Yes on the left. On the left, you just saw him go through on the left. Now, we think that they were under safety car boards by that time, but it's still jolly hard to tell.
Yeah, from our vantage, well, we can only see what you guys see, and you just can't see any flags or boards. I couldn't see anything there.
I should imagine there have been some discussions going on down there in pit lane. So it is certainly working well for Westbrook, though, because Thomas Enger has a drive-through penalty. And once he makes that drive-through, has he made it yet? No, he's not come into the pits this time around. Thomas does have a couple of laps in which to make that stop. Interestingly, Hohen Ardel has come back out despite missing a vast part of the front end of the car, which is, I'm quite surprised really that they've sent him back out again, but they do seem to have done. And he's still dicing away with the Lamborghini there. So there is still it is Marcus Paltala who is leading this race. Bernoldi in second place, and then Max Martin in third position, but still waiting for them to make their pit stops, and they've got to do it within the next couple of laps. There's the number 47 Lamborghini, Christopher Haas at the wheel of that car, behind Jelmer Berman in the Corvette. And Berman was quite fast yesterday, now trying to pick up the speed, of course. Lost a little bit of some places under the pit stop, and now trying to recover from that. On board, the rather beaten and bashed Hexis Aston Martin of Christian Hohen Ardel here.
Yeah, well, that's the end of the backstretch, the fastest part of the circuit. A little right. This is that tricky left-hander, which is really hard because you're braking and shifting at the same time into that chicane, through that very tight hairpin there. It's still smoking a little bit on the front there, but it should be okay.
How will it be affected handling-wise without that? Will it make any difference not having the bonnet, or what?
Well, it should do. It wasn't designed that way. So I think the engineers generally would run with something definitely on the front. It should make a difference.
So now we've got Bernoldi coming in, and we've seen Max Martin come in, who's going to be handing over to Jan Claret. So Bernoldi is going to be switching over. Nicky Katzberg taking over this car. So has staying out a little longer helped them? We'll find out. Of course, they were towards the back of the pack anyway, so I think they've gone for the clear air. They've gone for some clean space, whereas for the leaders it made sense to stop as the earliest opportunity, and it certainly worked for Dumbreck. So yes, I was saying Westbrook a moment ago. It is Peter Dumbreck, of course, in the number 22 car at the moment. So Peter Dumbreck still behind Thomas Enger. Enger has still not made that drive-through.
No, he hasn't. I don't know if they're sort of querying it in some way, but normally once the decision is made, you're going to have to abide by that decision. So he's going to have to do it definitely at the next lap.
Nicky Katzberg rejoins right with the number 4 Aston Martin and the 4 car, which is still going. Christian Hohen Ardel still being shown still to be driving the number 4 car, which is interesting with his bonnet missing as they continue on the way.
Oh, he's diving down the inside. That was a brave move, and it worked.
It worked. It did work, indeed. I don't know if it's still Hohen Ardel in the car, whether it's Piccini when they've forgotten to flick their switch. But anyway, he's managed to get the place back. Little battle going on between the two Fords, right behind, side by side, and just squeezing through in the number 41 car and getting the place is Jan Claret, who puts a wheel over the curb as he does so. And Claret, having recently just come out of the pits. There is Hohen Ardel, so our timing screens are slightly out of date. It is Piccini in the number 4 Aston Martin, which is what I thought it would be after the pit stops. But with the damage on the car, I guess it may well have damaged the timing beacon that they have to switch between drivers. Now, number 10 car, this is the race-leading car, Marcus Paltala, the Belgian racing forward. He'll be handing over to Antoine Leclerc, but this will mean that all of the front runners now, in fact everybody I think, will have made their pit stop, and in the pits there is the tall frame of Antoine Leclerc. Now he locks it up on the dust. Oh my goodness. Oh, that was all a bit hairy, wasn't it?
And it was perfect at the end.
Yeah, he got it just right, but it was all locked up. And interesting on our timing screens is also something I haven't seen before, because they had to come through the pits so many times under safety car. They're being shown as having done 5 pit stops now, because they had to keep going through the pit lane under safety car. So Leclerc has got in. There is Thomas Enger, who is still not made the drive-through penalty. Young driver, no doubt, are still arguing the case at the moment. Away goes Antoine Leclerc. Where will he come out with respect to the cars that have already stopped? Well, let's see. The Aston Martin comes past him, no problem there. The Nissan of Peter Dumbreck comes past. Then also going past is Steph Dusseldorp in the number 3 Hexis Aston Martin. He's followed by Jelmer Berman in the red Corvette. And finally, the Belgian Ford comes out behind Piccini in the number 4 Aston Martin, but ahead at the moment of it's Katzberg. Katzberg in the number 20, a Nissan, and I think the Nissan's going to have him here because he's got his tyres fully up to temperature. Antoine Leclerc still trying to pick up speed here, and that's no problem at all for Nicky Katzberg.
No, absolutely no. Again, he had the warmer tyres. Those fresher tyres coming out the pits out of that first corner is always going to be a bit difficult. So, yeah, Nicky did a good job there.
Number 22 car then is Peter Dumbreck. He and Richard Westbrook are looking to try and win this race if Thomas Enger has his drive-through penalty. As it stands at the moment, of course, with the young driver car ahead, then the young driver team would win the team's championship. But they are under a drive-through penalty, and it's Peter Dumbreck holding second, but not by much, you know. Look how close that Hexis Aston Martin is behind him, as Steph Dusseldorp, and then Jelmer Berman, the star of yesterday. Look how well he's going in the Corvette.
Yeah, well, he's still doing in some really good times at the moment, so I think he's looking good. I'm surprised, or maybe we're surprised, how quick these Aston Martins are, because Thomas there is out in front and he's pulled away. And then we see the Hexis car as well. He's dropped back a little bit that lap, but I think he's having to defend a little bit. But Berman is doing a very good job again.
Yeah, Jelmer Berman out of single-seaters, Super League. He's been a race winner the last few years in Super League, was runner-up in the championship a couple of years ago. Before that, he raced in the British Formula 3 Championship and British Formula Renault as well. So he's got a lot of single-seater race experience at a high level, and loving this Corvette, which is pretty much in a standard trim according to the team. They've not done anything special to it this weekend, but he's got in it and been fast right from the word go. So as they come up the hill and up towards the end of the lap once again, Berman is still attacking all the way up towards that last corner, trying to have a little think about it, but it is difficult to overtake, no doubt about it. Very, very tricky to find a place to pass, and look at how dusty it is off the racing line. It's going to make life even more difficult as he charges down the start-finish straight.
Yeah, it is. And what we did see yesterday, especially in the latter part of the race, you see the traction in this Corvette seems to be very good. Now he's got to try and use that to his advantage in some of these slower corners, especially we've got a quick sort of semi-quick right coming up. Then we have the chicane, and that's where he needs to really shoot out of that, because then you have that long straight up a hill at the fastest point, and that is an overtaking point as long as you get close. It doesn't look quite close enough. It's the chicane coming up now, and they seem to have sort of spread out a little bit. Done a real late break in there, I can see, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get out.
Let's take another look at the replay of the Aston under safety. Well, was it under safety car? The Aston was coming up from behind. Look, there's the Aston coming up on the right of the shot, and everyone else is bunching up. Now, is there anything that indicates the safety car is out? Are there any boards? Are there any flags?
Can't see any
yet. See yet? I can't see anything. I mean, it's a big track, so it's sometimes hard to pick out the flag points.
Yeah.
Very difficult to see anything there that indicates. So it's a big story, this. Enger has not yet made a pit stop or a drive-through penalty. He's still out in front. He's still leading this race by 2.6 seconds. There he is, and trying to open up that lead, and they're obviously trying to argue the case that they shouldn't need to come into the pits for the drive-through penalty.
I'm not sure they're going to argue that quite strongly.
And there are the rest of them. So Dumbreck followed by Düsseldorf and then Berman, with Christopher Haas closing in a bit now.
Yeah, well, it's all sort of coming together. Again, it's surprising the Aston Martins to me, of how quick they seem to be at the moment. But Berman is looking good, but he just doesn't seem to be quick enough in the right places to actually get by. His split times and the difference in lap time between...
Oh, he's coming in.
Yeah.
Enger is coming in for the drive-through penalty. Their arguments presumably have not prevailed, and Thomas Enger comes in, and this is presumably the end of young drivers' hopes, unless the Nissan breaks down now from the lead. And Thomas Enger, look at the body language, arm up on the windowsill. How frustrated is he? All that hard work this year, and it's all for young driver, the accident for Mucker earlier this weekend. Now this, when it looked as though they might have done enough. Yes, Muller took advantage of the car slowing down, but it was very hard to tell whether they were under safety car conditions then or not. That's what the argument is over. He wasn't the only car overtaking in those conditions. We saw Westbrook make up ground as well.
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line as to where somebody moved ahead or they didn't? That's the question. But clearly the race director feels that he took advantage. So we'll just take another little look. Let's take another look at some of our footage from earlier. I think we may have another opportunity in a second to have a look at that. Just watching that back. Yeah, here we are. So
there's a yellow there.
Right, there is a yellow, yeah, in the background.
I think that's yellow.
Yeah, there was a yellow. You're absolutely right. There was a yellow in the background there.
Well, I can't see anything else after that. Then normally in a yellow, you normally get a green, which then said it's free.
Yeah.
You can't overtake until a green.
And he didn't take the lead at this point,
No,
and
so
of course he got the drive-through penalty for actually taking the lead, which would have been a bit further round outside our shot. So it's quite possible that there was another yellow out of shot. So, well, the decision has been taken, and now there's a drive-through.
That's what I thought.
There's a drive-through for Peter Dumbreck.
It was just after you said he overtook, and I thought, I wonder, because they've been looking at that, they've now moved it to the next one.
So Peter Dumbreck, this car, that changes it again. Now the team's championship is going to go back in favour of young driver Aston Martin.
Wow.
My goodness, what a seesaw this is. They've decided that car also overtook under safety car procedures, and Richard Westbrook not giving much away. It's like lift of the eyebrows there from Richard. But they were all doing it, you know. They were all trying to gain advantage, which if the boards weren't out, you're allowed to do. But as soon as they're out, of course, you've got to behave. And
there's still that yellow again. You don't overtake when there's a yellow.
That's right. So they've taken advantage. They've been given a drive-through penalty, which will mean the battle for the lead is going to be between the Aston, number 3 of Steph Düsseldorf, the Hex's car, and Jelmer Berman in the Corvette right behind them. There's been nothing to choose between these two for the last few laps. Only 18 minutes to go in this race. Jelmer Berman's going to have to really work this one out if he's going to overtake. Behind them, we've got Christopher Haas in the Lamborghini. Pacini still running in the number 4 car, by the way, in 5th place, the Hex's car without a bonnet. Then we've got the Sumo Power Nissan of Nicky Katzberg in 6th. Antoine Leclerc, who's in the number 10 Belgian Ford that was leading for a while under pit stops. Well, he's now down in 7th. Jan Claret is 8th. Christopher Nygaard is 9th. And Riccardo Rizzati, who is the Argentine driver with Bas Linders this weekend, he's down in 10th position. Looking down over the track here from on high in the helicopter. Well, certainly lots been going on in that early lap, of course. It all comes down to the reaction of drivers and cars to the accident that took so many cars out at the start, the slowing down of the cars at the head of the queue, and advantage taken by, first of all, the Aston and indeed the Nissan, the number 22 car of Richard Westbrook. And Dumbreck now will have a drive through. So let's get some reaction from the pits. Let's go down to the young driver team first of all and get their take on it.
Aaron, your impression, do you think that Alex just didn't see the yellow flag?
Yeah, we have talked a lot of time now with the race director, and he have showed us, it was a yellow flag outside, and sorry, we can nothing do. He has not seen the board, he has not seen the yellow flags, Alex, and okay, he's go on. And now, after the race director has spoken with the race director, we have seen, okay, the yellow flag was out, and sorry, okay, that's it.
Thank you.
So there was a yellow flag there. It must have been the one you spotted, I think, in that background of that shot. And but the interesting thing is, it wasn't just them, and that's probably why they're looking a little more relaxed about it now, because the number 22 car is also going to be done. And of course, if neither of them score points, and actually, there's a change.
He's there. That's the move.
That's the move for the possible win in this race. Jelmer Berman has got past the Aston Martin, the number 3 car of Steph Dusseldorf. And that is so crucial because the car that's currently leading has a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, and Christopher Haas as well. He's been closing the last few laps, and now he's right on the back of that Aston Martin as well. So there's a bit of pressure there again for the Aston. He's just lost one place. He's got to try and fight hard to not lose another.
Hexis not having the success they had here last year when they won both races, but Steph Dusseldorf still staying in the mix there as he tries to defend from Christopher Haas, who comes back into GT1 this weekend, having done the whole of last year with Peter Cox aboard one of the Reiter Lamborghinis. Back in a Lamborghini, different team. Oh, and there was a mistake from Berman. Berman made a mistake in the Corvette, and that gives Steph Dusseldorf another chance. He's going to try and take it, but then Christopher Haas will try and take advantage himself from 3rd place. Oh, Jelmer Berman so nearly threw away the lead that he earned only a few moments ago.
He did, and that was lucky where he did it. He just had, luckily, a nice slow chicane where he was able just to do enough defending to keep that lead. Hopefully he doesn't want to do that again.
Well, the lead is still Peter Dumbrecht. Somebody's mirror, or is it a mirror? I think
it's a mirror, yeah.
Off for the side of the car, but Dumbrecht, while he's leading this race, is still going to have to come into the pit. The big question might be, I suppose you could ask, well, will he be ahead of Enger or not? The thing is, at the moment, Enger's outside the points. If Dumbrecht could really go for it here and come out ahead of Enger and ahead of a couple of other cars, then perhaps JRM would still be in with a shout of the team's championship.
And the lap differences between Dumbrecht and Thomas, who's in 11th, there's only a couple of tenths, so it's not a great deal. That was obviously on the last lap, so we're going to have to monitor that.
Lovely view from the headlight camera on board the Lamborghini of Christopher Haas here, although you can see the shot blasting effect that this track has on the Perspex cover of the headlight, and he's so close in behind the Aston here. That's not really an overtaking spot.
Went a bit wide.
Oh,
yeah.
it is. I'm completely wrong. He's got a beautiful move there. And Christopher Haas gets past the Aston Martin for what should be 2nd place once the drive-through penalty has been made.
Yeah, well, he just ran a bit wide there. Quite surprising. As you were speaking, he just went that little bit wider onto the looseness, and then didn't get the drive out.
So across the line they come once again. It's Dumbrecht still out in front at the moment from Berman in 2nd place, but we are looking for that drive-through penalty from the Nissan number 22 to be taken in the next lap or so. Thomas Enger is down in 11th place in the young driver Aston Martin, and he is still lapping, as you say, pretty fast, although Dumbrecht a bit quicker on that last lap as well. So JRM are not completely out of this yet. We are going to have to go to the final few moments of the 2011 season to find out which team is going to emerge as teams championships. That is how they are at the moment, because at the moment neither car would score points. But that assumes that Dumbrecht does his drive-through, which he has to do, of course, but it also assumes that then they don't get some points in the latter part of the race, and they may well get some points in the latter part of the race. So that is still open for decision. We'll wait and see exactly what's going on.
Yeah, well, that's really going to be down to Peter now. He's got to really, really get some real quick laps in so he can get ahead of Thomas. And like you say, maybe later he can get some points.
So let's get back down to the pits and see what Richard Westbrook makes of all this.
Richard, did you not see the yellow flag when you were out on track?
Well, I came past the big accident in the beginnings, and main thing, thank God, everyone's okay. And I thought I was going to hit someone. I mean, you just couldn't see anything. It was a big, big mess. There was no yellow flags up there. The Corvette braked. Everyone came round. The Aston Martin went to the front. I was in 4th position. For sure, I gained a couple of places, but there was no safety car sign at that point. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure, but, you know, I'm not complaining.
Thank you.
So, Richard, presumably discussion's still going on. This is a replay of that, what was going on at that time, and just trying to work out what everybody was trying to do there. But we've still got a race on our hands here. Presumably, JRM Nissan are still arguing about it all, trying to... no, Dumbrecht's come in. Dumbrecht has come in on this lap. So the race lead goes to Jelmer Berman. the young Dutch driver who has been such a star this weekend, Peter Dumbreck, taking the drive-through, earned as a result of what Richard Westbrook did earlier on in the race, and he's now had to follow. Now, where will he come out with regard to Thomas Enger? That is the big question. Will he come out in front or behind the young driver Aston Martin, which is heading on? I think he's going to be in front of the Aston.
I think he could be. It's going to be tight, really tight.
Where is the Aston?
There it is.
He's going to be very tight. The Aston's going to be right
back
side
in
by
front.
side. The two teams that are fighting with the team's championship, the Thomas Enger gets in front of Peter Dumbreck, but at the moment they're both outside the points. Well, in fact, no, Enger will now be 10th. Enger will be just inside the points, but Peter will be outside the points. Oh, Richard can't look. They've got to get in front of that young driver Aston Martin if they're going to win the team's championship as well. And they've got to get in front of it by, I think, a couple of places, because young driver have a 3-point advantage coming in. And of course, at the bottom end of the point scoring system, you're only gaining 1 or 2 points over the other car. So they've got to get a few places ahead, and this is incredibly nerve-wracking. Nice to see the guys can still smile. That young driver, it can't be much less nerve-wracking, I'm sure.
Absolutely not. And again, it's Thomas Enger in the car, and that's going to be very, very hard for that Nissan to get in front. I think there's all head in hands and everything. But it's not over. There's still a bit of time to go. We've got 10 minutes to go. But you never know what can happen on track.
That's right. Who knows what's going to happen here? Thomas Enger you're riding with right now. Well, he'll be buzzed up now, I'm sure, because he saw the body language when he had the drive-through penalty. He thought it was all over. So do we, but it wasn't, because then SRO Motorsports picked up a penalty as well. And there is our race leader. So there is Jelmer Berman leading this race. He's got a decent advantage. He's got 2.8 seconds advantage over Christopher Haas in second place. Third place, then, after that drive-through penalty has now been taken, is that car. It is Steph Dusseldorp in the Hexis Aston Martin, another of the very, very solid newcomers to the championship this year. Now, Piccini in that Aston, he's still going well, despite the lack of body. He's being chased by Nicky Katzberg. Then you've got Antoine Leclerc chasing on in 6th place. 7th is Jan Claret. 8th, Christopher Nygaard in the other Ford. Then Rizzati is 9th in the silver and burgundy Ford. 10th place is Enger. 11th place, Dumbreck. And that's how they stand, with Enger at the moment looking to score 1 point for young driver, and JRM Nissan there with Peter Dumbreck outside the points as we go into the final 8.5 minutes of this event. Bas Leinders for the Mark VDS Ford team. Now, I wonder what the discussions they're having with young driver at this stage. Their car is just ahead of, next car ahead of Enger. So
that's just what I was going to see, how far ahead it is as well, because obviously that's going to be key, because you can see now that Peter seems to be on it. He knows he's got to risk everything to get ahead of Thomas, but then, of course, he's got to get further ahead than that. He needs those few extra points to do it. But he's on a charge. We've only got 8 minutes to go. It's possible, but it's going to be really, really hard. It's going to be one monumental drive to be able to pull this one off.
Oh, well, it's just exciting that after all the trials and tribulations of this race, and too much damage done in the early stages, that's for sure, we still have an amazing conclusion to enjoy, a climax to the team's championship to watch, and also a performance from a young driver here, Jelmer Berman.
Jelmer Berman, absolutely. Lap time's fantastic, quickest car on track. He's very consistent as well, and that seems to be carrying him through. And again, we'll see.
Let's get back to the pits and find out what young driver we're working out with Bas Leinders.
I do all for you.
Okay, thank you, Ari. I just heard you speak to VDS. Is it just purely about the race?
Yeah, purely about the race. Well, it was a big crash in the start, and then we have spoken a little bit over this. It was crazy. I mean, yeah, 2 or 3 Lambos out now, and yeah, that's shit.
Thank you.
Well, apologies for the language there, but I'm not sure they were only talking about the start. I have a feeling they might have been talking about more, but they don't want to give too much away at this point. Berman leads. Christopher Haas in the Lamborghini still second, and some cars under investigation at the moment, but that's not really relevant. Still third place for Dusseldorp, 4th place coming through. Christian Honard, Andrea Piccini in the car at the moment. And then Katzberg and Leclerc, Antoine Leclerc having a good run here, 6th place. And there are the two cars battling for the team's championship, although Thomas Enger could allow the Nissan through, but he doesn't want to.
He won't want to, no.
No, that's right, because anything can happen, and he will want to stay in front if at all possible. On board then with Peter Dumbreck, trying to get back past the Aston. What an amazing tussle between these two great teams, the two sort of top teams really of this whole season. Remember, they both had drivers who could have won the championship coming into this final event. That went wrong for young driver, but they can still win the team's championship here. But Peter Dumbreck wants to do everything he can to prevent that happening.
Yeah, well, Riccardo Rosati is only just in front. They're closing that gap down. There he is just in front of Thomas. So that gap's coming down. We're down to sort of under 6 minutes, but they seem to be closing quite quickly on lap time. Actually, they were doing about the same then. It was only Peter who was quicker, but I think we're going to see a very shrewd Thomas. He's going to be sort of playing this. He's going to get the drive out of the corners, and if he knows he gets the proper traction and drive, he knows he's not going to be able to overtake. That is Peter. So he's going to be very shrewd. You know, he's a very experienced young lad, and he's going to make it very, very hard.
This is great stuff, though. Thomas Enger and Peter Dumbreck, too. They're young guys, but they're old hands at racing hard and at knowing what it takes to win races, to win titles as well. They've both done it in the past in different categories, and at the moment these two are fighting all the way through. Now, just looking at that, right, now the team's championship, right, I've got to correct myself here, because what I haven't allowed for is the fact that the Hexis team has got two cars in the top 4 places, because that car that's running with the bonnet off is still scoring points for Hexis. And it's not just these two, after all, that are fighting for the team's championship, because Hexis are right in there as well. If it stays like it is right now, Hexis would win on 238 points versus Young Driver on 231. So it's a 3-way tussle for the team's championship.
Well, we missed that one, didn't we? Unbelievable. Well, this is going to be more interesting, because obviously these two cars that we're watching at the moment need to push as hard as they can if they're going to have any chance of getting those points. So they're both over after points now.
Now, part of the reason that they come into it, actually it's really interesting, is because the number 11 and number 47 cars that are running first and second do not score team points. So that's what's sort of confused us a little bit. So actually, the two Hexis cars would get points for first and second. So that's what makes the difference. That's what means Hexis could actually win this thing. This is incredible. I can't quite believe what's happening. But we've still got a good dice here between Thomas Enger and Peter Dumbreck. And there's honour at stake, even if it's not the team's championship.
Absolutely. And they're closing down those cars in front. There's actually a few cars now coming into shot. But they've only really got a couple of laps left, I would say. Maybe 3 at max.
Yeah, that's right. We are counting down now. It's a long lap here. It's a 2 minutes and a quarter lap to get around the Potrero de los Fines circuit. We've seen a huge accident in the early stages of this race, the very start of the race, taking out the new Drivers' World Champions, Lucas Luhr and Michael Krum. That was a bit wide there from Enger. We saw several cars go out in that incident. We saw the number 7 Aston Martin of Alex Muller spun through 2 360-degree spins. That car there that's still trying to stay in front of the Nissan, but they're fighting away for points in the team's championship. But what about Hexis? They can win it now. Let's go and hear from Philippe Dumas.
Philippe, with the current standings, you are the world champions, the GT1 world champions. For the team's title, you walk away with it.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Do you know whether it's illegal to drive without a bonnet?
I don't know. I don't know for the moment. We check everything, and we will see after the race. The race is not finished, so.
Thank you.
Well, Haley really getting in there with the tough questions, and Philippe Dumas not wanting to count his chickens at all, because it's just such an amazing situation that we're in, that Hexis might actually win this championship with a car that's missing a bonnet, that's been involved in all sorts of incidents on the first lap. Not actually the initial crash, they got involved later on around the lap, I think. But right now, these two are still fighting. There's Clivio Piccioni, who is teammate to Steph Dusseldorp. He's looking at getting a podium finish, which is at least a good way to finish the year, but it might be even better. It could be the team title for Hexis. This small French team that has got so much passion for what they do, and it would, in a way, be so justified for them to take victory here. Although you got a feel for young driver and for JRM, who've worked so hard season long, and they've been unlucky this weekend with cars going out for a variety of reasons, involved in accidents that weren't their fault in some cases. But what a story this is for the world title, the team's championship. There is your race leader, the 24-year-old Dutch driver who never sat in a GT1 car before this weekend, who is looking at 2 wins. I mean, if he knows for sure what's going on. Let's see.
Philippe, congratulations, you are world champion. Philippe, thank you, Philippe.
Oh, this is just unbelievable. Look at the emotion from this French team. They are just a fantastic unit, these guys, and Philippe Dumas, he cannot barely believe it. The passion that runs through that guy. He was a racer himself, a driver himself, but there's Stephan Rattel to congratulate him, to confirm it. It has been confirmed. The Hexis team are the FIA GT1 World Champions of 2011, and they have done it, and that tells the story, Johnny.
It's wonderful. Even getting me emotional as well. I think that's absolutely brilliant. It's great to see those guys. You know, these guys do such a hard work. Mechanics sort of never really get a lot of the credit they deserve, but they fully deserve it on this occasion.
They have been consistently the fastest pit stoppers this year. I mean, they have produced some of the most amazing pit stops. They won the first race of the year in Abu Dhabi thanks to a brilliant pit stop. There's Christian Hohenadel. He can't quite soak it in either. It is just astonishing what has happened here. Let's get back down to the pits with Haley.
Clement, congratulations, an emotional result, and what a great year.
Yes, very great, it's fantastic. We don't understand what happened now. We don't understand, it's all the team, a driver, big championship. We are very, very, very satisfaction.
And Christian, congratulations to be a part of a world champion team, moving from GT3 to GT1 this year. It's quite a result for you.
Of course, was a quite good season. Thanks to Hexit, at the moment we have no idea what happened. It's very emotional at the moment, so we stay calm and see what's happened. And thanks to Hexis for giving me the chance, and yeah, I appreciate that all the year through.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations.
So that was Clément Mathieu, who is the Uban who runs the team. He's the son of Michel Mathieu, the CEO of the Hexis Group. And of course, Philippe Dumas is the actual team manager, the operations manager, they've delivered. But there is Francesco Pastorelli. The Jelmer Berman is out of the Corvette. These guys have taken victory. They've come into the championship and shown everybody what they can do in that Corvette. The Corvette which has been on the scene for so many years now, run by a small team, and it's definitely been the weekend for the smaller teams. The might of JRM, Nissan, they've won the Drivers' Championship. The might of Young Driver in the end disappointed. It's the smaller teams that have come through on the Sunday.
Absolutely, and I'm pleased for them. They do finally get that podium, and they do finally get that trophy to take home, because they've done a wonderful job this weekend. I'm sure they're going to be very proud with themselves, but with the team as well. The team have done a great job as well. The pit stops went so fantastic. That was an entertaining race today.
That was incredible, absolutely incredible how it all came to a massive climax at the end there. And the team's championship, who would have thought that the team's championship would have come down to the wire in quite that way. Steph Dusseldorp and Clivia Piccioni, drivers for Hexis Aston Martin, celebrating a podium finish and the team's title. They were second in the team's championship last year, Hexis, after taking 2 victories at this circuit. This year, the whole weekend has been such hard work for them. They thought their chances were completely done and dusted, and yet, by limping around with that car that got damaged, they have still managed to come home with the title. Really incredible. Brilliant. And there's Jelmer Berman to congratulate them as well. And yet he's won the race. All the excitement's about Hexis, of course, and poor Jelmer and Francesco almost lost in the excitement. But they will get on the podium today, and they will get a trophy. So they'll be happy. Let's go down and hear from Piccioni and Dusseldorf.
Congratulations, Clivier. What a way to finish the season. Podium finish and the world champion.
It's just amazing. The team did an awesome job all the way through, and to finish this way, the end of the year, we didn't think about it, but now it's just the best day of my life.
Huge celebrations tonight, Steph.
Fuck. It was a tremendous race. So incredibly hot. And the 35 minutes lasted quite long. I had no radio, so I didn't know how long to go, but we did it. We deserved it, and we're the new world champions.
Thank you.
Well, a real level of excitement there from these guys at Hexis. Again, apologies for any language, but you could just feel what it means to them. They were fighting for the team's championship throughout the year, and it was really last time out, if you remember, there was huge disappointment when Andrea Piccini went off in the closing stages of the Beijing race when they were leading that race, and they thought that their chances were pretty much over with that. But, well, actually, Philippe Dumas never thought that. He never gives up. He never thought that the chances were over, and he's been proved correct. So they have done a stunning job. Right. Well, let's not forget our race winners, though, because they were awesome this weekend. Let's hear from Jelmer Brabham and Francesco Pastorelli.
Congratulations, guys. What a result. You got 2 race wins here this weekend for Corvette.
Yeah, we only missed the pole, but yeah, that's the only thing. But the race was well. Shame that the safety car was so long that I couldn't do anything, but Jelmer did a fantastic job. He drove back from 3rd place to the 1st to win the race.
Congratulations, Jelmer. It's been quite the weekend for the two of you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, we came here just to have fun, basically. Of course, we always push as hard as possible. But to leave here with 2 wins is pretty amazing. I mean, at this level, and then just jump in a car we didn't know and win. It's quite a good feeling.
Hope to see you next year. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
A new pair of stars in GT1. I wonder if Francesco Pastorelli is going to go back to mechanicking and running cars in the Dutch Supercar Series after this. He'll certainly be able to tell his drivers what to do. He said he'll take no grief from his drivers now. He'll tell them, look, mate, you're talking to a winner of a GT1 World Championship race here.
Absolutely, and he thoroughly deserves it, and he thoroughly deserves a drive, to be honest, both of them, you know, permanently, because they really drove the wheels off of that car.
Berman in particular with that fastest lap at the end, or during the race, not the end, but that was a great lap from him, 2 minutes 14.963. So let's go and hear from the guys that finished second now, Manuel Lauck and Christopher Haas with their Lamborghini.
Congratulations, from 9th to 3rd place, 2nd place, and finishing on the podium.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. So from the 9th position, we had a really good start, and of course, it was quite hard. The 4 cars in front of me crashed, but I found a gap, and so I was already on the 2nd position. I can't believe it, but yeah, it was really good start. And then we had a long safety car time, but everything was more or less okay. We had one problem with the tires because Christopher killed the tires in the qualifying, and so we had just one set new tires. But in the end, it was perfectly to have the safety car for us. And so, yeah, from the 9th to the 2nd position, we are quite happy.
And Christopher, what a great performance for you to have in your comeback in the World Championship.
Yeah, it's great. It's like the GT3 in the FIA. But I have to say, we got a great car from our team, from DCR Racing, and it's unbelievable. Manuel did a really great job on the start because he had a luck. He did not crash like the other cars, and it's unbelievable. I don't know what I should say.
Congratulations, guys.
Christopher Haas, just referring to the fact that he had a win in a FIA GT3 race, which was also a one-off at Zandvoort a couple of weeks ago. So at the end of the season, which has been a little bit quieter, has worked out to be fantastic for Christopher, and many congratulations to him. So a few people cooling off. Let's take a look at the result. The Corvette, the ex-Bank Team China car, taking victory here with its 2 drivers new to the series, ahead of Lauck and Haas in their Lamborghini and Piccioni and Dusseldorf 4th. But Oldie and Katzberg got their Sumo Power car up to 4th, but with Hohenadel and Piccini in 5th, it was a great day for Hexis. Paltala and Leclerc were 6th, Hershey and Nygaard in their Ford 7th. Westbrook and Dumbrecht were 8th, ahead of Leinders and Rizzati. They got a car between themselves and Muller and Enger. Then Martin and Claret with Rossi and Verdonk finishing down in 12th position. Of course, we lost a lot of cars, sadly, from the field in the early crash, and that had a big effect. But let's just remember that in terms of the points, this is what it means in terms of the team's championship. Hexis AMR have taken the title, with Dumbrek moving ahead of Rizzati on that last lap or so. JR Motorsports got second in the end, and Young Driver, who for a while there, it seemed as though Young Driver would be champions, they've had to settle for third. That's how much it changed through the course of the race. Alinkel finished fourth ahead of Sumo, Mark VDS Belgian Racing, and the Swiss Racing team. And as we know, in the Drivers' Championship, of course, that was settled yesterday for the win. Michael Krum and Lucas Law took the victory and have taken the title. But Stephan Mucker and Darren Turner, despite not even racing this weekend, still finish as runners-up. Hohenadel and Piccini get the decision for third, with Enger and Muller finishing fourth, just 1 point ahead of championship leaders at the mid-stage of the season, Marc Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock. And with Max Martin finishing in 6th place, Steph Dusseldorp finished in 7th place in the Hexis car. So the drivers are out onto the podium. They're carrying those black armbands in memory of those girls who died so sadly in that tragic bus accident here in San Luis earlier on this week. But the other drivers making their way out now as well. 2nd place for Christopher Haas and Manuel Lauk. Lauk just joining the latter part of the championship. And there, Jelmer Berman and Francesco Pastorelli. They didn't get a chance to do this yesterday after the qualifying race, but they certainly do today in the championship race, where they've scored the big points as well. A remarkable effort by them and by their crew to get them to the top step, and they will be really enjoying this and soaking up the atmosphere. Jelmer Berman and Francesco Pastorelli. Pastorelli, like his brother, dual nationality, Dutch and Italian. And Jelmer enjoying, he'll be enjoying this so much after his victories in Super League. Now he's done it in GT1. What a season it has been. So, drivers just preparing for the podium celebrations now, and the anthems play out. So a short anthem. Bear in mind, this is the first win for the Exim Bank Team China outfit. It's the first win for a Corvette in a championship race, winning in qualifying races in the past, but never in a championship race. There, Piccioni and Dusseldorf celebrating that 3rd place finish, and what a finish to the season for the Hexis team by taking the title. There, we've got the 2nd place finishers, Lauk and Haas. And they really weren't expecting anything like that, I don't think, when they came into the weekend here. And also our 2 rookies joining the championship for a one-off event, Francesco Pastorelli and Jelmer Berman, doing everything more, really, than ever could have been expected of them to take 2 victories and really show their class with that car. Fantastic stuff. Johnny, really has been a weekend of unexpected outcomes, hasn't it?
Oh, I think it has.
Apart, I suppose, from the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But I think it was just today. I think, you know, we had that amazing incident at the start. It took out sort of the main sort of front runners. It opened the doors to other cars and drivers, and we saw a fascinating end to the team championship as well. So overall, it's been a fantastic weekend, a very, very lovely location.
Yeah, stunning location, no doubt about it. And we gather that FIA GT1 is quite likely to be coming back here in the future as well. That's got to be a great venue.
Yep, seems to be, which is really nice. I've got my Speedos on, I've got my towel in arm, and I'm going to go for a swim.
Good man. Go and cool down a little bit after what's been an absolutely beautifully hot day here in the mountains, not far from San Luis. And Argentina, once again, has been a wonderful host to the FIA GT1 World Championship. They really work hard at this circuit to make everybody feel comfortable. It's a very slickly run organisation here, and it beautifully put together. And there is that stunning setting as well around the lake, which has put on really a remarkable end of season. got a feel for Michael Krum and Lucas Law, who weren't quite able to sort of maximise the whole season. They're drivers' champions. That's the big thing they were going for. They weren't quite able to help their team win the team's championship, but there was nothing they could do about that. The car was taken out in that start line crash.
No, absolutely. But I think at the end of the day, like you said, Ben, they are the world driver champions, and I think they very well deserve it. And I think that's what they can go home with, obviously.
Yep, no, they got second place in the end as well. So
yeah,
they beat big rivals, young driver, to that. But both of them outfoxed in the end by the Hexis racing team. And as we say, it is deserved to them. It might have come at the last moment, but they have been an incredible team. Their competitiveness, their spirit, the speed of their pit stops throughout the season, the way they've got those Aston Martins consistently, regularly up there. They might not have won races all the time, but both outfits, both cars in that team won races this year. The Hohenadel Piccini car winning at the Saxon Ring, coming so close to winning in Beijing, and the other car winning at the first race of the season after a fantastic pit stop, Piccioni and Dusseldorf winning in Abu Dhabi. So the team has had 2 championship race wins to celebrate. They've been consistent throughout the year, unlucky on a couple of occasions. Well, of course, all the teams have suffered some bad luck as well, but they have emerged triumphant in the team's championship after that final very, very eventful race. Now, we are going to enjoy a second podium here, and that is, of course, for the championship titles. So that's what everybody is waiting for now. And for the top drivers, for the top teams, that is who we're going to be seeing out on the podium. And stepping up there in third place, there in second place, Darren Turner and Stephan Mucker. So an opportunity to put the race overalls on after all for Stephan and Darren. But they're the champions, the FIA GT1 World Champions. They are, of course, Lucas Law and Michael Krum. And although there'll be an element of disappointment today that they weren't able to win it for the team as well, the satisfaction that they earned yesterday is still absolutely written over their faces. Very, very special moment for them. The highlights of their careers so far, and particularly for Michael, a little bit older than Lucas, in his early 40s now, and his career very much at a peak, but you've got to say it won't be that many more years. I think Michael is one of those guys who will keep going for a number of years and will be winning races for quite a few years. But you've got to say this is the crown of his career at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for both of them, you know, Lucas has been around for a long, long time, won many events in sports cars and GTs around the world, but a world championship is always special. And, you know, I think we saw the emotion of Lucas yesterday, and I'm sure together they're going to have a bit of fun tonight.
Well, the English national anthem ringing out because of the team is British. That's why, because JRM Nissan is a British team, so that's why you're hearing the national anthem. But Law and Krum now being able to get used to this feeling. Of course, finishing in third in the championship. Very, very happy Hexis pair. Second in the championship for Stephan Mucker and Darren Turner. Hohenadel and Piccini finishing in that third place. But Lucas Law and Michael Krum are the champions of 2011, following in the footsteps of Michael Bartels and Andrea Bertolini last year, who won the title on the same soil in Argentina. An absolutely amazing achievement. And for Michael, who was involved in the development of that Nissan GT1 car right from the outset, he was involved in the initial testing and development of that car. And it was always their intention to win, try and aim for winning the title this year. Last year, they always felt was a learning year. They aimed and targeted the 2011 season as their championship winning year. It's one thing to have it as a target, it's another to achieve it.
Absolutely. And as you said, you know, he's very famous in Japan. That's where most of his racing has been in the last 4, 5 or more years. Married to a Japanese tennis player. He's very at home there, and as you said, because he's got such a relationship with Nissan, he was able to really get on board very early in the program, and that development work has paid off.
And there we've got the Hexis guys coming up to celebrate on the team's championship front. Philippe Dumas, and he's They're just loving this, aren't
No,
they?
that's not the right one.
Oh dear, that's not the right one. They've been given the wrong one. That won't do.
Oh, there you go.
Third place going to Young Driver in the end. So they didn't get to win the big one.
Ah, there you go.
Second place going to James Rumsey of JRM Nissan. Well, they had to settle for second in the end because the big one, the big trophy goes to Hexis Racing. And it is Clément Mathieu, Philippe Dumas, who have hold of that trophy. They still can't quite believe it, but they have done it. And the team that's run Aston Martins for the last 2 years in GT1 have come home with a big trophy, and that's lovely. The other drivers, Piccioni and Dusseldorf, coming up there to celebrate as well. There is the Hexis AMR team, the FIA GT Team World Champion of 2011.
Great to see. Well deserved. Again, now you said earlier, Ben, it was everybody's had a mixed season, and at the end of the day, they've had the best.
Yep, they scored more points than the others.
Exactly.
That's what it's down to. Yeah. And however you do it, that's what counts at the end of the day, and they thoroughly do deserve it. And that's nice that the crews all together there, having their pictures taken now. There's James with his two drivers, Lucas and Michael. Been a really solid season for them. And disappointment, I know, for them that they haven't wrapped it up, the teams as well. But I think even they will understand that these guys, do in many ways deserve it. It was unfortunate that their car got crashed out in the early stages today for JRM. But Hexis have just put so much heart and soul into this championship for the last 2 years. And I don't think anyone would take it away from them. So that's the end of the podium celebrations, and people beginning to make their way home or thinking about what's been going on this season. Of course, looking forward to next year's championship. Still very much a lot of discussions going on about exactly how that will work and what's going to happen. But we're going to be seeing a lot of these teams, a lot of these drivers coming back next year and fighting for another world title. And no doubt we'll see another season of ups and downs and seesawing emotions as we go through. But it really has been absolutely stunning climax to the year here in this perfect setting. And Johnny, it's been a real treat to be here, isn't it?
Yeah, it has. And again, we had some great racing this weekend, a few surprises, a few disappointments, but at the end of the day, I think this Argentina should be very happy.
Well, let's take a little look back over some of the highlights of this event, at least, an event that was topsy-turvy, to say the least. So it all started with this crash at the start, which wiped out the number 23 Nissan of Lucas Luhr and Michael Krum. It also wiped out the two Al Inkle Lamborghinis, David Brabham's Nissan and Jonathan Kennard's Lamborghini. It pitched the Aston Martin, number 7 car of Alex Muller, into two 360-degree spins, which he emerged from despite the contact that had been made. And a number of cars were involved, but other cars, thankfully, were able to move to the right-hand side of the track and just about escape all of the chaos and mayhem that was going on the left-hand side. Great news was that nobody was hurt in that incident. Everybody trying to work out exactly what had caused it, how it had begun. But there was also confusion from then because the cars all slowed. The cars that were still running slowed down. Cars overtook under yellow. Nobody quite knew what was going on. The race then finally resumed after a long safety car period, and there was plenty of action going on. Tyre smoke coming off one of the Hexis cars at that point. We thought he was out of the race. The number 22 Nissan of Richard Westbrook and Peter Dumbreck was fighting hard with the young driver Aston Martin for the lead of the race. But as it turned out, they would both be given penalties, drive-through penalties, for having passed under safety car conditions when that initial accident had occurred. Meanwhile, the Hexis car was still going with no bonnet, and JRM Nissan just couldn't believe what was going on. And then we realised, with the drive-through penalties with these cars so far back down the order, it was the Hexis team that was actually looking good for the team's championship. And up ahead, in front of all of this that was going on, the Corvette was dominating the proceedings as the two Mark VDS cars made contact in the closing stages. So ultimately, we had brand new race winners in the shape of the Exim Bank Team China car of the two young Dutch drivers that had come to play, Jelmer Berman and Francesco Pastorelli. They drove an absolutely superb race, but the Teams Championship went the way of Hexis AMR with their 2 Aston Martins. They have just emerged ahead of all of the other teams to take their title. The race winners, Berman and Pastorelli, celebrating on their debut. But the championship is over. The titles have been decided. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.